Chapter 475. Outside of Chiyu City, the three princes of the Mizar dynasty were trying to kill Butterfly. Corpses were everywhere and blood was spilled everywhere. The blade god was at the end of his life. His clothes were dyed with black blood, and his eyes were closed. He could only rely on his intuition to kill his way out. Black blood dripped down the blade of the black saber drop by drop. His missing eyes and ears could not hear or see anything. In this dark world, the blade in his hand was the only thing he could rely on. The three princes of the Mizar dynasty had come prepared. They had gathered thousands of experts just to completely bury the legend of the blade god. Flower Burial let out a soft cry as tears of blood dripped down. Butterfly swung her blade to cut off several iron chains that were flying towards her. She turned her body and stepped into the air. Her sleeves danced with the edge of her blade, and in the blink of an eye, more than 10 figures were decapitated and fell to the ground. Let's see how long you can last. The 13th prince took a step forward, and his red spear pierced through the air. Double rainbow parallel flow. Yi Chaohui also brandished his 2 swords. Streams of light rose from the swords and transformed into rainbows, intersecting with each other as they shot forward. Butterfly swung her blade to meet the attack. Suddenly, she felt her true chi stagnate. With a bang, she was forced back a few steps and blood spurted out from her arm. It's over. On the other side, the 9th prince gathered the power of heaven and earth. His strongest attack was unleashed. With a life and death crisis, Butterfly subconsciously raised her palm to block the attack. But with a bang, the heaven and earth shook and lightning struck her body. Butterfly was sent flying and crashed into the ground. Ugh! Butterfly struggled to get up and vomited a mouthful of black blood, which dyed the ground in front of her. Butterfly's wings were broken, and her body was covered in blood. She was exhausted and had reached her final moment. Kill her and report back. Yi Chaohui said coldly. Okay. The 13th prince stepped forward and condensed Yuan Qi on his red spear. He was about to end Butterfly's life. Suddenly, at this moment, the clouds in the 9 heavens changed. The phoenix shook the heavens, and a gigantic phoenix shadow appeared, blotting out the sun. Towering killing intent distorted the void for 100 miles. Yama's sword fell, and a murderous aura surged. With a bang, Yi Hongmian was pushed back. The man in red who appeared held a sword and walked in front of the butterfly. Without saying a word, he gently carried the butterfly on his back. He tore open the butterfly's clothes and tied it tightly behind his back. Feeling the familiar warmth in front of her, Butterfly in the flower's consciousness gradually woke up, and a tired smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. You're back. Her voice was so soft that it could not be heard, but it clearly fell into the ears of the man in front of her. At this moment, it was like the most beautiful sound of nature in the world. And hold on tight, I'll kill them all for you, Ning Chen instructed in a soft voice. The deaf butterfly seemed to understand the former's words at this moment. She tightened her arms and left everything to him. You don't know the meaning of death. Kill. The 9th crown prince waved his hand, and groups of black-clothed experts behind him rushed forward, starting another round of killing. Ning Chen's eyes calmly swept over the 3 of them. He didn't seem to notice anything unusual. However, the terrifying killing intent on the sword showed how furious its owner was at this moment. The next moment, the man in red moved, and the killing began. Yama's sword opened the road to the underworld. Passing by each other, blood splattered all over the sky. As the sword passed by, the broken limbs of the black-clothed figures were scattered all over the sky. Blood splattered behind the sword. Under extreme anger, only killing could calm the anger of the phoenix. The 3 crown princes joined forces to block the way. Swords, spears, and halberds fell, but Yama waved his sword. Purple light and blood light shone on the sword, and the 3 who blocked the way retreated a few steps. Today all of you will die. Knowing destiny was extremely angry, and his sword became more and more ruthless. The figures that were cut off could not stop Yama's cruel cold blade. Sword style life burial. It was a killing sword style that had never been seen before. A sword turned the sky, and the sky was filled with dark clouds. A mutated rock soared into the sky, absorbing the resentment and evil energy between heaven and earth. It roared angrily and turned into a destructive sword rain. falling from the sky. Knowing destiny showed the sword of killing, and created an endless killing. The sword rain fell with a loud bang, and 10 miles of land collapsed. Heaven and earth collapsed, and the space was shattered. The crisscrossing cracks reached thousands of feet away. As the sky collapsed and the earth sank, the figures in black could not withstand the destructive sword power. Their bodies exploded and blood and bones splattered like rain. The 3 crown princes were also injured at the same time, and they vomited blood and flew out. The 3 of them were so shocked that they staggered to their feet and vomited blood at the same time. The 3 of them were about to die, and the mournful cry of the green moth resounded in the sky. Before the person arrived, the sound of the sword had already arrived. "Mr. Ning, please spare the 3 of them." In the distance, Qing Hong's figure flashed past, but she was still a distance away, and it was too late to stop her. "I said that today all of them will die," Ning Chen replied, and Yama waved his sword. The 3 heads flew up, and blood spurted into the sky. Yixuan Miao rushed over, and when he saw this scene, his heart was in pain. He held his chest and staggered. "Liusu, let's go." Ning Chen glanced at the figure in the distance and said, "Okay." Zhao Liusu nodded with a complicated expression. She jogged forward and left with him. Yixuan Miao clenched his fists and cracking sounds rang out. A moment later, he loosened them and walked up to the 3 crown princes' corpses. The 2 of them didn't say a word as they passed each other. However, both of them knew that from now on, when sword met sword, only life and death would be decided. In the next moment, the phoenix soared into the sky and disappeared. In the wilderness, Yixuan Miao picked up the 3 corpses and left with a pained heart. Within the Heavenly Sky Academy, the phoenix transformed into a red-robed figure. She brought the unconscious Huti to the pavilion in the middle of the lake. Yi Qingqiu immediately stood up and took 2 steps forward. When she checked her pulse, she felt pain in her heart. "How could this be? We'll talk about this later. Quickly save her," said Ning Chen anxiously. "The poison has entered her heart. Her divine sense and blood energy have dried up. We can't save her," said Yi Qingqiu. "Impossible. There has to be a way." After saying that, Ning Chen seemed to think of something, and his figure flickered, and he left once more. In the primordial land, a phoenix appeared and rushed into the depths of the primordial land. "White Flood Dragon! White Flood Dragon!" An anxious voice echoed through the primordial land. Ning Chen was standing in the forest constantly shouting. "What are you shouting for?" White mist descended and the white flood dragon appeared. It looked at the human in front of it and angrily rebuked him. "White flood dragon, hurry and save her. Didn't you say you would agree to one of my requests?" asked Ning Chen. Seeing this unprecedented loss of self-control, the white flood dragon's eyes flashed. Even in the burial stream, it had never seen this hateful human so anxious. Just who was this woman? Was she so important to him? "Hurry!" Ning Chen once more urged the white flood dragon upon seeing it remain indifferent. The white flood dragon didn't bother with his lack of manners. It took a step forward and checked the woman's pulse. A moment later, it gently shook its head and calmly said, "I can't save her." "Impossible. You said you would agree to one of my requests," said Ning Chen. "What's the rush?" "I said I couldn't save her, but I didn't say she would definitely die," scolded the white flood dragon. Ning Chen immediately went forward and grabbed the white flood dragon's arm. "How do you save her? Or is there someone you can save her with? Take me to see him, or tell me where he is and I'll go myself." The white flood dragon frowned and broke free. "It's not a person. It's the yin-yang heavenly lightning of the fallen Phoenix Pass in the north of the Four Stars Empire. This woman's consciousness and vitality have dried up, and the poison has invaded her body. Ordinary methods won't be able to save her. If you want to save her, the only way is to use the most extreme yin-yang energy to stimulate the potential within her body. Perhaps then you might be able to save her." The white flood dragon looked at the person in front of it and calmly said, "However, you have to consider this carefully. Legend has it that a true phoenix was buried in the fallen Phoenix Pass. It's your fate. Whether you want to go or not is up to you." "I understand. Thank you." Ning Chen didn't hesitate at all. He transformed into a phoenix and quickly left. A glint flashed across the white flood dragon's eyes as it watched the former's departing figure. With this, would Feng Yuan's favor be repaid? However, if a phoenix couldn't be reborn, would he still have a chance to live? In the Four Stars Empire, a red figure flashed past. It disappeared in a flash and headed north. Half a day later, a red light gathered in front of the fallen Phoenix Pass. Ning Chen appeared with the butterfly in the flower. He didn't dare to waste any time and rushed in. The valley was calm, and nothing unusual could be seen. However, Ning Chen felt a bone-deep pressure the moment he stepped in. The phoenix stopped in its tracks. Ning Chen didn't have time to think. He continued to rush forward. After a few dozen miles, he felt his body sink. In an extremely bright light, a blazing white lightning fell from the sky. Its power didn't seem to be unstoppable. However, just as Ning Chen was about to condense his yuan to block it, he immediately felt a strong sense of fear. He instinctively stepped back and avoided the lightning. The lightning tribulation that fell suddenly dissipated as soon as it hit the ground. It didn't cause the expected damage. What's going on? Ning Chen's eyes flashed with a heavy look. The feeling of fear just now wasn't an illusion. However, such a powerful lightning shouldn't be a threat to him. Boom! Before he could think too much, another bolt of lightning fell from the sky. It was dazzling white and invisible. The feeling of fear came again. Ning Chen immediately moved to avoid it. Looking at the lightning that disappeared silently not far away, his expression grew darker and darker. Although he didn't know why, his intuition told him that he couldn't block the lightning in the valley. Time was of the essence. Ning Chen didn't want to waste any more time. He turned into a streak of light and continued to rush towards the fallen Phoenix Pass. The clouds parted to reveal the sun in the valley that stretched for hundreds of miles. Tens of thousands of bolts of lightning fell from the sky, on a huge cliff, in the deepest part of the valley. Each bolt was over 3 meters thick and blazing like the sun. It was extremely powerful. Before he even got close, Ning Chen felt a sense of fear that he had never felt before. It was extremely difficult for him to even take a step forward. The Phoenix was a forbidden land of the heavenly fate. Every step was difficult. On the other hand, the butterfly behind Ning Chen didn't have much life left. It was like a candle in the wind that could be extinguished at any time. Without any hesitation, Ning Chen clenched his teeth and turned into a phoenix. He flapped his wings and rushed towards the cliff in the distance. Boom! At that moment, the lightning fell from the sky. It was dazzling white and instantly drowned the phoenix. Chapter 476. At the fallen Phoenix Heavenly Pass, the phoenix spread its wings and yang lightning fell from the heavens. The heavenly tribulation appeared for the first time. The phoenix fell from the sky and landed on the ground. It regained its human form and stood up, vomiting blood. Senior apprentice sister. Ning Chen ignored his injuries and immediately reached out to the woman behind him to check her condition. A strange scene appeared. The originally dried-up life force within the butterfly's body actually showed a slight change under the stimulation of yang lightning. Ning Chen was overjoyed. He knew that the white flood dragon did not lie to him. He endured his injuries and continued to rush towards the cliff. Boom! Yang lightning descended streak after streak. The phoenix shifted, evading the descending lightning, quickly flying away. 100 miles away, the mountain peak that used to be so close was now so far away. Crisscrossing lightning fell, and the phoenix constantly dodged, not daring to face it head-on. Rumble! Yang lightning streaked across the sky and landed on the phoenix's body once more. The phoenix was unable to dodge in time and fell from the sky, smashing into the ground once more. Ning Chen's body was dyed red and blood flowed. He struggled to get up and spread his wings once more, unwilling to take even half a step back. Thunder and phoenix cries rang out. The phoenix was in a desperate situation, and every step it took was difficult. It spread its wings again and again, but it was struck down by lightning again and again. Blood swallowing, heavy injuries enduring. Before the butterfly's path of survival, the phoenix used all its strength to get closer to the cliff covered in lightning. I'm close. That was the gratification of having hope in front of it. The phoenix once again spread its wings and rushed towards the peak. Boom! The phoenix ascended and the sky filled with raging lightning struck its body. The butterfly was submerged in the lightning, and at the same time, the phoenix fell straight down and smashed into the dust. Phoenix Heavenly Pass. The phoenix's consciousness gradually blurred. At the peak, young lightning fell from the sky and formed an endless sea of lightning. The butterfly floated within it. The poison around its body was swallowed by the young lightning and slowly dissipated. At the bottom of the cliff, the phoenix was covered in dust and returned to its human form. It was still unconscious. The sky turned day and night. Lightning turned to yin and yang. The moment the cold moon rose, the blazing young lightning disappeared and dark yin lightning fell from the sky, once again submerging the butterfly. As yin and yang changed, the butterfly's dried-up vitality was stimulated by the aura of extreme yin. Its potential was stimulated, and it went through a cycle of destruction and repair. At the bottom of the cliff, Hongyi was still unconscious. Her weak aura was difficult to detect, and the lightning that descended was becoming less and less. In the fallen phoenix Heavenly Pass, the sun rose and set, the moon set and the moon rose. Time passed day after day, and in the blink of an eye, 9 days and nights had passed. The butterfly in the lightning, her fine black hair fluttered in the wind. The most dangerous calamity of her life was finally being reversed in the sea of lightning. At the foot of the cliff, the phoenix was unconscious. Under the suppression of the heavenly tribulation, its phoenix essence was at its weakest. At the moment when the cold moon rose to the top of the 9th heaven, a shocking change occurred around the phoenix. In the roar that shook the sky, the strange rock that gathered the killing karma of the knowing destiny state soared to the sky, took the soul that originally belonged to the phoenix, and spread its wings and left. Within the lightning on the cliff, the butterfly opened its eyes in a daze. After witnessing this terrifying scene, it fainted again after a brief moment. At the Tianji stage of the Xuanji Empire, a purple-robed elder looked at the terrifying gray shadow that streaked across the sky, and shock flashed across his old face. As the heavens changed, Xuan Tianhe's hands moved, and specks of starlight swayed. He used his vitality to derive the heavenly secret, and to predict good and bad. Zhongzhou is going to change. After a long time, Xuan Tianhe sighed and said weakly. At the same time, countless eyes in the various large sects looked towards the north of Zhongzhou, and shock appeared on their faces. In the east of Zhongzhou, the white-robed Buddha who had returned from the divine land trembled. He looked into the distance, and after a long time he sighed deeply. No matter what kind of great merit he had for saving the world, this time, he could not be allowed to stay. At the foot of the cliff in the fallen phoenix Heavenly Pass, the phoenix lost its soul, and could no longer wake up. On the cliff, the butterfly floated up and down, receiving the baptism of the yin and yang heavenly thunder day and night. Outside the fallen phoenix Heavenly Pass, the demon body and killing body left the phoenix body, and millions of killing karma erupted in one day, shocking the world. In the northwest of Zhongzhou, under the cold mountain and flame mountain, in the famous sword-casting manor of Zhongzhou, the strange rock roared into the sky, and a terrifying pressure swept down, shaking 100 miles. How dare you! In the depths of the manor, a powerful aura awakened. With a rumble, an elder in linen robes walked out. His majestic pressure was infinitely close to the level of a supreme. But at this moment, the strange rock flapped its wings and charged into the cold mountain and flame mountain, without any hesitation. The elder's expression changed, and he immediately understood why the monster had come. His figure flashed, and he quickly followed. In the cold mountain and flame mountain, flames rose. In the river of fire, a blood-red sword floated up and down. 16 chains extended from the mountain walls, and they were all on the sword, suppressing the blood-red sword from being born. Qilian Shuafeng, the ferocious sword sealed in the cold mountain and flame mountain. Before even getting close, one could feel the killing aura on the sword. Thousands of years ago, the ferocious weapon that had once plagued the world was sealed by 2 human sovereigns, and placed in the cold mountain and flame mountain. It was guarded by the descendants of the sword-casting manor for generations. No matter the reason, it couldn't be allowed to be born again. Today, the strange rock that had gathered the killing intent of millions of people had descended, and it directly crashed into the seal. With a loud rumble, the seal that had been weakening for thousands of years began to shake violently. Several chains snapped, and the killing aura on the sword became more and more obvious. The elder hurried over, and with a flip of his palm, he slapped towards the strange rock, stopping the killing weapon from being born. The strange rock roared towards the sky, and a terrifying killing aura spread out. The elder's palm power actually disappeared in an instant. With a loud rumble, the strange rock crashed into the seal once again. The chains swayed, and another 4 chains snapped. The killing aura rapidly rose again. Evil creature! The elder was furious. His palm condensed vigorous yuan power, and he slapped out. The strange rock did not dodge, and it forcefully blocked the palm. Soon after, it crashed into the killing weapon seal once again. With a loud rumble, the few remaining chains all shattered. In the next moment, a monstrous blood aura soared into the sky, illuminating the 9 heavens. With the appearance of the world-destroying killing weapon, the heaven and earth shook. The strange rock transformed, and a black-clothed, black-haired, black-eyed figure walked out. He extended his hand to grab the sword, and directly pulled it out. There was a moment of silence, and then there was the terrifying scene of mountains collapsing and the earth sinking. Because of the appearance of the crimson sword, the entire Flame Mountain range quickly collapsed. The number 1 killing weapon of the Central Plains, after 4,000 years, reappeared in the world. With the extreme appearance of the Flame Mountain range, the demon body killing body, the world-destroying killing weapon, the most terrifying person and sword met for the first time. The elder was shocked, and his face immediately sank. He knew that he could not let the killing weapon bring disaster to the world. With a flip of his palm, he absorbed the thousands of years of earth chi beneath the sword crafting manor. Immediately, an ancient stone sword slowly rose, shocking the world. Within the collapsing Flame Mountain range, Peak Half Venerable, Knowing Destiny, Demon Body Killing Body, Sword Crafting Manor's thousands of years of luck, and the peerless killing weapon that brought disaster to the world. No one knew what the outcome would be. In the most critical situation, the Central Plains had a shocking change. What kind of unexpected changes would occur from this upheaval? Please continue to subscribe to the Great Xia Nobles, Climax Volume 9, Gathering of the Winds and Clouds. Chapter 477, Cold Mountain and Flame Ridge, a battle between a Peak Half Venerable and a Knowing Destiny demon body. Thousands of years of earth chi gathered below the sword crafting manor, and a stone sword appeared. After a short confrontation, the 2 swords clashed. The demon body held the sword and killing intent swept out. At the same time, the sword crafting master used the earth chi and the stone sword to fight against the crimson sword. In an instant, 100 miles of mountains moved, and magma burst out and fell like rain. The strongest swords clashed in the rain of fire. Every strike brought about changes in the surrounding landscape. It was a terrifying battle. Demonic technique Bloody Path. The demonic technique was used, and a bloody path appeared. The demon body used the crimson sword, and in a flash, the bloody path of hell appeared in the human world. 100 generations of Jianghu one sword to end. The sword crafting master used his ultimate move, and the stone sword kept absorbing the earth chi in the surroundings. It gathered into a shocking sword and slashed out. A collision that could shatter heaven and earth. Below the two, the ground cracked inch by inch, and ripples spread out, destroying mountains and splitting rocks. The void shook. Both of them took half a step back, but the demon body changed the sword in his hand. Bloody light drifted, and the wind and clouds within 10 miles were swept away. Demonic technique Heaven's Tears. When the sword was used, heaven and earth cried. The demon body was emotionless, and his black hair danced wildly. The sword crafting master turned around, and with a boom, lightning from the 9 heavens descended. He slashed out, and met the demonic technique head-on. When the 2 techniques collided, the void within 10 miles collapsed. Everything fell, and the undercurrent surged endlessly. The fire of the earth surged, and once again soared into the sky. In the rain of magma, the 2 figures fought again. The 2 weapons clashed, and the sound of metal clashing rang out. Outside the cold mountain and flame ridge, in the sword crafting manor, Many people looked at the mountain range with shock. With the appearance of a murderous weapon, a bloody storm was about to occur in Central State. Within the cold mountain and flame ridge, the sword-crafting master, who was responsible for suppressing the murderous sword for generations, used all his skills to prevent the crimson sword from appearing in the human world. The human body was 100 years old, and the demon body was 1,000 years old. The emotionless, knowing destiny-killing body held the murderous sword in his hand, and every move had the power to destroy the heavens. It was incomparably powerful. Heaven, if you have eyes, then please help the human world get through this calamity. The sword forger master's palm slashed across the stone sword, and blood dyed the sword red. Rumbling thunder descended, adding to the power of the stone sword. Looking at the divine blade that was reinforced by thunder, the demonic body's eyes did not change at all. The killing karma around his body was activated, and the demonic power in the sword was vast and mighty. Suddenly, 10 miles of undercurrent covered the sky and the moon, and the wind and thunder trembled. The two extremes collided in the blink of an eye. The flame ridge of Mount Han, which was already riddled with holes, collapsed once again. The mountain peak collapsed and became history. With a muffled groan, blood flowed out like a waterfall. The sword forger master retreated several steps and vomited blood. The sword master was about to lose, but the demonic body didn't have the slightest bit of mercy. The demonic body was formed from killing karma, and there was no trace of humanity in its pitch-black eyes. The demonic body moved, and the demonic body moved with the sword. The sword master held his sword horizontally with his left hand to block the killing move. However, as the two swords clashed, a huge force was felt. The demon advanced while the sword master retreated. Wherever the two of them passed, huge rocks collapsed one after another. Rocks fell like rain. Blood dripped from the corner of the sword master's mouth. With a bang, he smashed into the stone wall. Powerless, the sword master spat out another mouthful of blood. Looking at the destroyed ice mountain and flame mountain, he could not bear to see the people suffer. He forced himself to endure his injuries and raised his sword, gathering the chi of the earth beneath him to unleash the strongest attack of his life. Tao begets the world. His strongest move, his wish to save the world with his sword. The sword master used up the last of his strength. Amidst the surging wind and thunder, his sword started to kill, vowing to stop the sinners from bringing disaster to the world. Tao's sword, Sword Tao, the benevolent killing sword. It was the last mercy that could not bear to see people suffer. The sword light cut through the darkness and slashed down from the sky. When the demon body saw this, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. He took a step forward, and his sword spun about 1,000,000 killing karma, stirring up the roiling lava beneath him, as he once again used his demon essence. Demonic form, blood flame. When the demonic form was unleashed, blood flames filled the sky and earth fire surged, forming a shocking scene of burning the sky. The blood sword in the flames cut through Tao and extinguished all life. The final move was a shocking collision. In the aftermath, a bloodied figure was sent flying. After landing, the stone sword stabbed into the ground and the figure stopped. Rumble! Thunder rumbled in the 9 heavens. In the next moment, heavy rain poured down. The heavens were moved, bringing down sorrowful rain for this impending demonic calamity. The person in the rain was covered in blood. Blood flowed down the rain, and dyed the rocks beneath him red. What a disappointing opponent! Under the rain, the demon body walked past, leaving step by step. Crack! With a light sound, the stone sword behind him broke, and the figure fell down, dyeing the flame mountain range red with blood. The heavy rain washed over the cruel battlefield. Everything was red. It was the desolation of the Tao's decline and the demon's rise. Knowing destiny, who had once protected the world, had now become the most terrifying calamity in the world. The demon body killed the demon body and the crimson sword. The heavens sensed this and cried in sorrow. Sword master! After the demon body left, in the flame mountain range, figures arrived one after another. Looking at the blood shadow who had fallen into a pool of blood, their faces were filled with shock. The sun rose from the east, and the first rays of dawn scattered down. In the fallen phoenix heaven pass, white mist filled the air. Jizun appeared. The white flood dragon walked into the valley and looked at the beautiful figure on the peak not far away. That guy actually sent her up there. What about him? Where was he? The white flood dragon walked forward step by step. At this moment, thunder rumbled in the 9 heavens. Blazing lightning descended towards the intruder. When the lightning appeared, the white flood dragon moved his feet and avoided the lightning tribulation. However, just as he was about to move forward again, blazing lightning descended and blocked his path. Just a trace of the phoenix origin is actually suppressed by fate. The white flood dragon frowned and avoided the lightning again. He was unwilling to face it head-on. Thousands of lightning bolts descended and white mist flickered. He avoided the blazing lightning that descended from the 9 heavens time and time again. The phoenix origin was a land of death. Even Jizun was unwilling to touch it. Rumble. Just as the white flood dragon was 10 li away from the cliff, lightning interweaved in the sky. The lightning was extremely bright and descended like a sea, drowning everything within a radius of 100 zhang. Unable to avoid, the white flood dragon raised his hand and stabilized the heaven and earth. With a word, the laws followed. A watery light filled the sky and blocked the lightning. With a loud explosion, the laws collapsed and the watery light dissipated. The white flood dragon staggered, and the corner of his mouth was dyed red. With the phoenix origin, even Jizun found it difficult to resist the heavenly tribulation and was injured. How troublesome! The white flood dragon gathered his energy and suppressed his injuries. Soon after, he quickly rushed forward. Fortunately, he did not have much phoenix origin on him, so the suppression of fate was not that serious. Otherwise, he would really have to consider whether this trip was worth it or not. In front of the cliff, the white flood dragon stopped. When he saw the red-clothed figure lying in the dust, his pupil shrank. Dead. The white flood dragon was shocked and immediately stepped forward. After examining it, he revealed a shocked expression. A soulless body? Suddenly, a black blade light appeared. It was bleak and dazzling as it slashed down from the sky. The white flood dragon's expression turned cold, and it retreated half a step. The blue-robed butterfly gently picked up the red-clothed figure. The flower burial tear in her right hand shone with a black light. Killing intent filled the air as she walked step by step toward the fallen phoenix heavenly pass. The white flood dragon did not stop her. Half a year had yet to pass, so it could not do anything to her. Butterfly returned to the Whitefoot Academy with the soulless red-clothed figure in her arms and walked toward the lakeside pavilion. When Yi Qingqiu saw this, she immediately stood up and asked, "What happened?" "He lost his soul." Hua Zhongdia carefully put down the figure in her arms and tidied up his clothes with a gentle expression and said, "How could this be?" Yi Qingqiu was shocked. "It's just a small matter. You don't need to worry. Please help him stabilize his life force. I will quickly bring his soul back," said Butterfly softly. "Your injuries?" Yi Qingqiu was worried. "It's no longer a problem. Scholar has medicine. I will go get it." After that, Butterfly in the flower did not delay any longer. She stood up and walked out of the pavilion. On the first floor of the Jingluan pavilion, the scholar was quietly reading. When he saw the woman come in, he placed a jade bottle on the desk and said calmly, "Welcome back. I have prepared the medicine for you for a long time." "Many thanks." Butterfly took the jade bottle and turned to leave. In the homeland of West Buddha, in the ancient land of Chongling, as the phoenix body changed, on the purple light platform, Su Yi, who had been stripped of her cultivation, suddenly surged with gray-black energy. After the demon body left the phoenix body, her main body showed signs of killing karma and soul-stealing. In the sacred hall, Maiden, who was refining the power of the life scroll with her eyes closed, sensed the change in knowing destiny's body. She suddenly opened her eyes. Her figure flashed and she appeared in front of the purple light platform. She turned her palm and gathered energy to suppress the change in the killing karma. Yet after the demon body took the crimson sword, the two bodies worked together. The killing karma had become a force. Even Maiden, who was at the peak of half-venerable, found it difficult to suppress it. "Main body!" Seeing the situation was extremely dangerous, Maiden shouted. In the next moment, the pressure in the ancient land suddenly dropped. A figure floating in the light slowly descended. Without a word, she gathered the power of the world in her palm and pressed down on the killing karma. At the same time, the 4 cauldrons in the ancient land spun and helped the Chongling female. Lingli, the human sovereign at the peak of the martial path, acted. The surging gray-black energy around knowing destiny was finally suppressed and entered Plain Robe's body. Why is it like this? Maiden's expression turned serious, and she said gravely, "Wait for now." As she spoke, Maiden's figure flew into the air. Using the 4 cauldrons, her slender hands moved. Waves of power affected the karma of the world, and she saw the world. A quarter of an hour later, the noble woman landed. She looked at the plain clothes on the purple light platform and said, "We were separated by a region, so I couldn't see clearly. However, I can confirm that the killing karma in the phoenix body has broken free from its restraints and seized the soul." Hearing this, Maiden's expression darkened and she said, "Does this mean that there is no soul in his body?" Maiden nodded. "Troublesome matter." Maiden's eyes narrowed and she said softly, "Losing the soul meant that one's life and death was no longer in one's control. It was extremely dangerous. Split a soul from the main body and send it over. Have him resolve this matter quickly." Maiden said gravely, "His cultivation has just been separated from his body. Now that he's separated his soul, will there be any danger?" The woman asked worriedly. "I'm 90% sure. It's worth a try. After the soul is separated, send it to the Bailu Academy in the Central State as soon as possible. Remember to come back quickly. I can sense that the demonic Buddha and the Purple Heavenly Palace are not far away from the next step. These two are very ambitious. We don't have much time left," the female supreme said in a serious tone. "Understood." Maiden nodded and responded. Chapter 478. In the north of Zhengzhou, butterflies appeared and chased after the demon. Blue butterflies flashed by quickly. For several days, the demon did not hide his tracks. However, he kept heading west, as if he wanted to leave Zhengzhou. Swordforge Manor sent out a notice to all the sects in the world, warning them of the reappearance of Crimson Snake. Everyone was shocked and urgently gathered to discuss the matter of killing the demon. The lesson from 4,000 years ago was still vivid in their minds. The mission of killing the demon could not be delayed. They had to kill this demon before it matured and reseal the sword. In just a few days, many sects in Zhengzhou came to an agreement. The demon army gathered to kill the source of the disaster. In the wilderness, the alliance of sects led the army to block the path of the knowing destiny killer body. They surrounded him, leaving no way out. At the back of the alliance army, a man in palace clothes holding an umbrella appeared. His face was like jade, but his face was slightly pale. He had a divine sword at his waist and walked forward step by step. "Third Commander." Everyone bowed to welcome the man. "Is this the current Crimson Snake demon?" "He doesn't look like much," said Gong Wuhan. His sharp voice and feminine appearance, without an Adam's apple, clearly showed his identity. He was the head of the hidden flower of the Xuanji Empire, Gong Wuhan. "Third Commander, be careful. Swordforge Manor lost to this person," reminded a peak expert of the 3 disasters. "That old fellow is too old. Can he still wield his sword?" Gong Wuhan smiled gently and closed the red umbrella in his hand. He raised his right hand and smiled. "Kill." With that order, the alliance army of sects rushed forward like a tide. They gathered the elites of many sects and immediately attacked. In the battle, the black-clothed, black-eyed demon's expression did not change at all. His black hair fluttered in the wind. His emotionless eyes only reflected the shadow of hell. The demon moved and the fiendish power on Crimson Snake's sword overflowed. The sword opened a path to the underworld. In the blink of an eye, blood splattered. The shadow of the cold killing was emotionless and silent. When the sword rose, the soul flew away. When the sword fell, the soul scattered. The sword surrounded by killing karma had a shocking power. The nightmare from 4,000 years ago appeared again. The demon disaster shook the world. Crimson Snake demon led to the death. One soldiers died. The alliance army, which had just begun to show signs of defeat, retreating step by step. They could not block the power of the murderous weapon. A bunch of trash. When Gong Wuhan saw this, he snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, a dark golden sword appeared. The demon body sensed this and pulled back its sword to block. With a loud bang, dust and sand flew about in the wilderness. Within the dust and sand, the two swords clashed several times. Flames and killing intent overflowed in all directions. Heavenly cleansing welcoming the moon. The quick swords exchanged several moves. Gong Wuhan's sword spun, using the furnace top technique, the sword of heavenly cleansing, and the technique of Yin Moon. In an instant a gust of wind rose, and Yin Qi filled the air, rolling and rolling. A cold and cruel Yin Moon appeared on the sword, and the cold Yin Qi turned into ice. The demon body blocked the attack. The moment the two swords collided, dark ice spread from the ominous sword to his right arm. Once the poison entered his body, his demonic body became sluggish and his sword was restrained. Die! His two swords were sealed in ice. Gong Wuhan's left palm exerted a huge force and struck toward the former's head. However, the demonic body's murderous aura was in a frenzy. The demonic body's demonic flames rose. The demonic body turned around and retreated half a step. Demonic form blood flame. The sword turned back, and blood flames were like waves. With a slash of the sword, the world was filled with a shocking red. Gong Wuhan received the attack. With a bang, the corner of his mouth was dyed red, and he retreated several steps. Ugh! Around the two, miserable cries could be heard. Blood flames spread out, destroying everything in its path, and incinerating more than 10 people. The demon body was the most ruthless side of knowing destiny. The demon body's human nature was on full display at this moment. Wherever the sword went, no one was left alive. The demon body's power was beyond imagination. Gong Wuhan's expression finally became serious. He took a step forward and leaped up. Absorbing the power of the moon, he turned it into a demon-slaying technique. The sword spun and fell from the sky. The demon body didn't dodge or evade. It waved its sword to meet the attack. In an instant, a violent storm spread out. The demon body and Yin Qi violently collided. Heaven and earth suffered a calamity, and the sand was like an ocean. The battle between the two powerhouses was vast and mighty. Those with weaker cultivations couldn't withstand the terrifying shockwaves. They exploded one after another, dyeing the wilderness red. Demon ridiculous! Gong Wuhan waved the heavenly cleansing divine weapon. Every move was ruthless and deadly. His feminine face was full of contempt and ridicule. As the swords clashed, the clothes on the demon body's left arm were torn apart. Having lost the phoenix source, the demon body's speed was no longer as fast. It was trapped in layers of death, and was actually at a disadvantage for the first time. Demon technique Heaven's Tears. The battle was in a stalemate. The demon body showed a trace of impatience. The crimson sword's baleful aura surged. The sword's bloody light was extremely bright, and the drops of blood turned into rain. The rain turned into tens of thousands of swords. Ugh! The rain of swords fell. Within 1,000 feet, hundreds of figures exploded. Those who were lucky enough to survive all vomited blood. Gong Wuhan moved his feet and avoided the rain of swords. However, the rain of swords was endless and difficult to avoid. When he couldn't avoid it, the heavenly cleansing divine sword blocked the rain of blood. With a bang, the hidden flower head retreated several steps. Waning moon has clear skies. Unwilling to lose, Gong Wuhan used the furnace top technique again. The Yin Qi on the sword rushed into the sky. The shadow of the waning moon gradually became complete. Useless technique. The demon body's face showed disappointment. He moved and the sword passed. Bloody flames burned the world and cut down the waning moon. Before the moon was complete, he suffered a backlash. Gong Wuhan flew out. His hair was dyed red. He staggered several steps and vomited blood again. Third Commander. The allied forces of various sects were shocked. However, the killing of demons was not over yet. No one was willing to back down. They surrounded the demons again and killed them. The knowing destiny-killing body was no longer merciful. He no longer showed any mercy. The sword in his hand moved according to his nature. Every move was to kill. It was a miserable battle. It was difficult for justice to move forward. The ground was filled with broken bones. The sounds of killing could not stop the demonic flames from burning the world. The 3,000 demon slayers marched forward. They fought until the sky and earth were dyed red. The first light of dawn shone from the east. There were fewer and fewer people left standing. In the wilderness, corpses were everywhere and blood flowed. The sky gradually brightened. The disciples of the great sects who carried the righteous hearts of killing demons were spilled in the wilderness. They could no longer walk back. Ugh! A sword pierced through Gong Wuhan's body. The demonic might surged. Gong Wuhan's mouth was dyed red once more. He flipped his palm and pushed the sword away. He did not dare to continue fighting. The demon body did not chase after him. He waved his right hand and wiped away the pool of blood on his sword. He then turned and left. The cold wind swept up a strand of sand. There was blood in the sand that had already dried up after a night of killing. Half a day later, the blue light gathered and the butterfly appeared. Seeing the bleak scene, her heart ached. In the end, she was still a step too late. Ning Chun, please don't let anything happen to you. Senior apprentice sister will quickly find you, said Hua Zhongdia. In the next moment, the butterfly turned into a streak of light and once again chased toward the west. In the southwest of the Central Plains, space stirred. In the blink of an eye, a beautiful figure walked out. After looking around, she headed east. The woman who had crossed over knew that the situation was urgent. She did not dare delay, and quickly rushed toward Whitefoot Academy. When the sun turned to the middle of the day, flowing light gathered in front of the academy. An honored guest had finally arrived. At the same time, in the central heavenly court of the Mizar dynasty, a purple-red figure was half kneeling. His expression was calm. Xuanmiao, 3 of your brothers have died in battle. Now you are the only candidate for the next Mizar emperor. Don't disappoint me. The Yuan emperor indifferently said from within the purple chi. Imperial father, when I was conferred the title of crown prince, I should have already told imperial father that I have no interest in the throne. Xuanmiao's expression did not change. Put this matter aside for now. Yesterday, the Xuanji dynasty sent news that Qi Lian has appeared. The various sects have already begun to move. My Mizar dynasty cannot sit idly by. Go, ordered the Yuan emperor. Yes. Xuanmiao received the order and left. After the 4th crown prince left, the Yuan emperor opened his eyes and calmly said, Man! This subordinate is here. A black-robed figure walked out and knelt on the ground. Follow the 4th crown prince and report his whereabouts, said the Yuan emperor indifferently. Yes. The black figure bowed once again. Soon after, his body faded and disappeared without a trace. After the black-robed figure disappeared, the Yuan emperor stood up and walked to the central heavenly court. He looked into the distance and his old eyes flashed. The sky of the central continent had changed. This was the best opportunity for the Mizar dynasty. He absolutely could not miss it. It was a pity for his 3 sons. He originally thought that they could do more. Among his 4 sons, the one he admired the most was Xuanmiao. However, the one he feared the most was the 4th son. As the crown prince, he had no desire for the throne. It was not easy to control him. In the Bailu Academy, Nu Chang came and presented a letter. The old gatekeeper squinted his eyes when he saw it. Sovereign ink. Please. A letter personally written by a sovereign could not be faked. The old man immediately stepped aside and did not stop her. In the pavilion in the lake, Nu Chang walked over. Qingqiu's eyes flashed. The aura of the heavenly book? The academy had the Book of Sun, so she was familiar with the aura of the heavenly book. The woman in front of her seemed to have just obtained this power, and could not hide it well. You are? Qingqiu asked softly. The homeland of West Buddha, the ancient land of Chongling Changyu, Nu Chang said calmly. Qingqiu heard this and narrowed her eyes. She was actually someone from the forbidden land of West Buddha. Miss Changyu, why have you come? Qingqiu did not beat around the bush and asked directly. Sending a soul. Nu Chang reached out, and the wheel spun. An illusory figure gradually took shape in the starlight. Qingqiu saw the face of the illusory figure, and immediately stood up with a shocked expression. Please follow me. After a brief shock, Qingqiu quickly recovered and did not ask anything else. She stepped out of the stone pavilion and stood on the lake. She waved her hand to part the water and walked down. Nu Chang followed and walked to the bottom of the lake. Under the lake, the 9 pearls spun together and fixed the knowing destiny phoenix body. Light sprinkled down and maintained the latter's scattered vitality. Nu Chang walked forward and condensed her energy. She guided the knowing destiny soul in the wheel and carefully injected it into the sleeping phoenix body. After doing this, Nu Chang did not stay any longer. She said goodbye and turned to leave. Miss, can you tell me who he is? I Chingqiu asked. Nu Chang paused and said calmly, Eastern Divine Land, Great Xia's knowing destiny Marquis. If you still want to know, ask him yourself when he wakes up. I hope the Academy can help him find his lost soul, because the entire human world owes him. Nu Chang did not say anything else and walked away. After 2 steps she disappeared. Chapter 479. I Chingqiu sat in the pavilion in the middle of the lake of the Academy. She made tea and waited quietly. Under the pavilion, the water rippled and the sun rose. 18 hours later, outside the pavilion, the lake water rolled and a red light rose. In the mist, a red figure walked out and entered the pavilion. Academy head. Ning Chen cupped his hands and bowed politely. Mr. Ning is too polite. Please sit down, I Chingqiu said softly. Thank you. Ning Chen expressed his gratitude and sat down opposite the former. Mr. Ning, should I call you knowing destiny Marquis or continue to call you Mr.? I Chingqiu poured a cup of tea and pushed it in front of the person in front of her. It's just a title. You're my senior. You can call me whatever you want. Ning Chen smiled and said. I Chingqiu nodded and asked softly. Do you know what happened in Zhongzhou? I don't know. Before the 2 souls merge, the memories can't be connected. Please tell me the details. Ning Chen picked up the teacup and said honestly. I Chingqiu nodded slightly and recounted everything that had happened recently in detail, no matter how big or small. Ning Chen drank the tea in his cup while listening to the headmaster talk about the phoenix body. The one-body dual manifestation technique that he cultivated was not complete. Before his doppelganger returned to his body, it was not much different from 2 people except for the fact that his life force was connected. Of course, no matter how different it was, knowing destiny was still knowing destiny. Whether it was the main body, the phoenix body, or the killing body, they all had to return to the original body. After an entire 2 hours, the tea had already boiled several times. Ning Chen also roughly understood some of the recent events. Without a doubt, the demonic body that suddenly appeared in the central region and seized the crimson drill sword was undoubtedly the killing body he was looking for. Chief, thank you for the tea. Time is running out, and I have to leave. After hearing the whole story, Ning Chen put down the teacup in his hand and stood up. I Chingqiu did not stay and said seriously, be careful. Butterfly in the flower has left for a few days. I will use the blue bird to help you contact her. Thank you. Ning Chen nodded and stepped out. A red light flashed and he disappeared. Xuanji Dynasty, Demon Clothing Mountain, the demon-slaying holy land of 4,000 years ago. Today, shadows appeared one after another to discuss the demon-slaying mission. The demon-slaying army suffered a crushing defeat, and Gong Wuhan was seriously injured. This demon has become powerful and must be eliminated quickly. One of the 7 silhouettes in the void spoke calmly. Even Gong Wuhan was defeated. This is truly unexpected. It seems that we have to send someone even stronger. Another figure suggested. I'll go. At the end of the group of 7, the illusory figure who had remained silent all this while expressed his opinion. Oh, 4th Prince, it's not that we doubt your strength, but this devil's strength is beyond your imagination. It's better not to throw away your life for no reason. At the side, a woman raised her doubts and rejected the idea. The 4th Prince's cultivation in the sword is extraordinary, and he should be able to restrain this devil. However, the Scarlet Vicious Sword's devilish might is too strong, and it'll definitely be difficult for him to suppress it alone. Zhang Feibai, Zhu Jingwu, Bai Qingwei, the 3 of you should go as well, said the person who had announced the news calmly. Yes, the 3 figures nodded in unison. At the end of the discussion, the phantoms disappeared from the demonic clothing mountain one after another. Peace returned to the world as if nothing had happened. 1,000 miles away, a purple-red figure opened his eyes and left. A day later, in Chahui City, the three commanders gathered to await the fourth prince's arrival. As the appointed time approached, the three half-sovereigns looked at the candles that were about to burn out in the Rainflower Tavern's sky room. I don't know what the commander is thinking. He actually sent a third Calamity youngster to cooperate with us, said the azure-robed woman with a dissatisfied tone. The commander has his own plans, and we shouldn't comment. Moreover, since the primitive emperor sent this person, he shouldn't be too far off, said Zhang Feibai. For someone of the younger generation to reach the third calamity at such a young age is indeed extraordinary. However, we're facing a devil that even Sword Master Zhu and Gong Wuhan were defeated. A third calamity is indeed a bit weak, said Zhu Jingwu with a worried expression. There's no point in talking about this now. Let's wait patiently. If this fourth prince is truly an ordinary person, we won't be able to protect him too much in the future battle. His life and death will be up to fate, said Zhang Feibai calmly. That's the only thing we can do. Hopefully, this person isn't a useless person who only knows how to talk big, snorted Bai Qingwei. Knock knock. Just at this moment, there was a knock on the door. The three of them narrowed their eyes. They hadn't sensed that someone had come. Please enter. Zhang Feibai suppressed the fluctuations in his heart. With a creak, the door opened and a purple-robed youth walked in. Looking at the three of them, he calmly said, I am Yi Xuanmiao. Thank you for waiting. The fourth prince really is punctual. He didn't come early at all. The moment Yi Xuanmiao entered, the last drop of the candles burned out. Seeing that he didn't have the slightest bit of shame, Bai Qingwei became even more dissatisfied. Qingwei, don't speak nonsense. The fourth prince isn't late. It's just that we arrived early, said Zhang Feibai softly. Yi Xuanmiao didn't mind Bai Qingwei's words. He walked into the room and directly asked, When are we leaving? Tonight, the Allied army is already on the way. They'll arrive soon, said Zhang Feibai. Yes. Yi Xuanmiao nodded and didn't ask any more questions. He silently stood in front of the window. The silent atmosphere lasted until sunset. Outside Chahui City, shadows appeared. One by one, experts walked out. Every one of them was above the inborn realm. 5 tribulations, 3 disasters, one after another. Their powerful aura covered the sky and the moon. It was so heavy that it was hard to breathe. 4 figures walked out of the city. Leading them was Zhang Feibai. He glanced at the Allied army and ordered, Let's go. With a command, everyone set off. Streaks of light streaked across the sky as they flew toward the west. At the same time, a blue light gathered in front of Shenghua Mountain and Butterfly appeared. After chasing for several days, it finally blocked the path of the devil body. Come back with me. Butterfly blocked the path and looked at the black-robed, black-eyed devil body. Let's see if you have the ability. The devil body's eyes were cold and emotionless. Scarlet drill entered his hand, and a fiendish aura surged out. Knowing that it was useless to say more, Butterfly in the flower didn't waste any more time. She clenched her right hand, and the flower burial tear appeared in a black light. She stepped forward and instantly rushed forward. The sword and saber clashed for the first time at the peak. The emotionless sword and the emotionless saber clashed fiercely in the snow. The demonic cycle of 1,000 years, the baleful aura that had accumulated for countless years, permeated the heaven and earth. The bloody light was dazzling, shocking the mind. Butterfly danced clear peace. Butterflies danced, water sleeves rotated, and a saber appeared within a saber. It was a magnificent martial art, fierce and magnificent. Saber God used his ultimate skill, and the devil body showed a serious expression. Scarlet Drill's fiendish sword was burning with demonic fire. He stepped forward and wielded his sword. The clashing sounds of the sword and saber clashing could be heard. The figures were fast and heavy. The battle at the top shone brightly in the night. Behind the two, the mountain rumbled and huge rocks rolled down one after another. They disintegrated under the light of the saber and sword and quickly dissipated. Butterfly danced double rainbow. Butterfly fluttered her sleeves and the black and white sabers drew a beautiful double rainbow. It cut through the night and descended. Seeing this, the devil body took half a step back. His sword rose into the sky and his killing intent surged. It collided with the double rainbow saber. With a bang, The devil body retreated again and slid a few steps away. With 2 sabers in his sleeves, Butterfly rushed out of the aftershock and attacked again. Under the cold moon and the cold night, the saber god displayed a shocking ability. Wherever the saber went, the mountain moved, and the forest was destroyed. In order to bring back the knowing destiny soul, Butterfly and Flower reappeared. Her sleeves danced and her body was like a butterfly. Saber in her sleeves and saber dancing, she fought the devil body by herself. Demonic-style bloody path. The situation was under control. The devil body activated the fiendish aura in his sword. He turned around and used his strength to open up a bloody path. Butterfly and Flower's expression became serious. She closed her sleeves, and the 2 sabers joined together. She held the saber and turned it around. With a loud bang, the sky and earth turned upside down. The space rumbled and trembled. Both of them were injured. However, Butterfly and Flower did not retreat. She reached out her delicate hand and forcefully grabbed the devil body's right shoulder. "You want to take my sword? It's hard." The devil body stopped moving. He turned the sword in his hand and slashed toward Butterfly in front of him. In close combat, Butterfly and Flower did not dodge. She raised her hand to block the sword. With a bang, blood dripped down. Butterfly danced Skynet. Butterfly did not care about her injury. She used the god trapping technique. When she got close, her sleeves turned into an inescapable net and trapped the devil body. The devil body had never seen such a technique before. He wanted to fight back, but it was too late. The sky net closed. The blue water sleeves that spread out shrank and trapped the devil body layer by layer. With the devil lock technique successful, Butterfly and Flower was relieved. The injury that she had been suppressing broke out again. She staggered and the corner of her mouth was red. The bluebird flew over and asked for directions. Butterfly and Flower returned to the bluebird and sat down to adjust her breath. The bluebird left. Around Butterfly, blue light rose to suppress the injury. Unbeknownst to them, 100 miles away from Shenghua Mountain, a group of silhouettes flitted past. The 3 fastest commanders were in the lead. They passed through the forest and rushed towards the battlefield. In front of the mountain, Butterfly was adjusting her breath with her eyes closed. She did not know what was happening behind her. She did not expect that someone would come at this time. When the 3 arrived, they did not see the devil body. Suddenly, among the 3, Bai Qingwei's body trembled. She looked at the flower burial tears not far away. Her beautiful face turned ferocious. "Flower burial tears? Butterfly and Flower, give me your life." Before she finished speaking, the blue bird flashed and appeared in front of Butterfly. She threw a palm at Butterfly. At the critical moment, Butterfly subconsciously avoided the attack. However, she was still sent flying. She groaned and blood splattered on the sand. "Oh no!" She vomited again. Butterfly and the flower's expression changed, and her heart sank quickly. "Thank you." As he spoke, the water sleeve heavenly net next to the flower burial tear shattered, and a monstrous demonic aura surged out. A scarlet sword appeared among the blue cloth that fluttered in the air. Without any warning, it pierced through Bai Qingwei's heart. The devil body appeared again. Under the fluttering black hair, his ruthless eyes were filled with killing intent. How can this be? Looking at the sword that pierced her heart, Bai Qingwei's mouth was filled with blood. She regretted the unexpected outcome. Chapter 480. The devil sealing art had failed on the verge of success, and Scarlet Snake had pierced through its body. It had used the blood of a half-step venerate to cleanse its blade. With a swing of its sword, the corpse fell to the side and blood dyed the ground red. "Now it's your turn." The devil body stepped forward, and Scarlet Snake was about to end Butterfly's life. The sudden change in the situation shocked everyone. Butterfly struggled to get up, and with a wave of her hand, the flower burial tear appeared in her hand once more. Suddenly, she staggered and vomited another mouthful of blood. Although she had managed to avoid her vitals at the last moment, she had still injured her internal organs and meridians. "Should we attack now?" asked Zhu Jingwu as he looked at the battle. "Wait for now," said Zhang Feibai. The devil body walked toward Butterfly with its back to them. Blood dripped from Scarlet Snake, and dripped into the ground. At the same time, several figures appeared in front of the mountain. A red-robed man with a sword on his back walked over. He looked at the devil body, and then at Bai Qingwei, who was lying in a pool of blood. He frowned and asked, "Why aren't you attacking?" "Wait for a bit longer," said Zhang Feibai. Yishuan Miao didn't say anything else. He moved, and before Qing Yemo had even appeared, the sound of a sword had already caused the surrounding air pressure to drop. Sensing the sword pressure behind him, the devil body turned around, and a cold light flashed through his eyes. Yishuan Miao was also startled. It was him. At this moment, a red light streaked across the sky. In the next moment, Yama's sword descended and knowing destiny reappeared. When the phoenix arrived, everyone was startled. The same appearance was reflected in everyone's eyes. Yet there was a completely different aura, making people unable to understand what was going on. Twins. Zhang Feibai narrowed his eyes. "Senior apprentice sister Dai, heal yourself first. Leave the rest to me," said Ningchen softly. Yes. Although Hua Zhongdia had 1,000 questions, she knew that now wasn't the time to ask. She withdrew from the battle, and first suppressed her injuries. With knowing Destiny's appearance, the situation immediately became tense. No one knew who this person was, so they were all filled with dread. Yama, Qing Yemo, and Scarlet Snake's swords resonated together. The three swords had their own grievances, and it was difficult for them to act together. Today's meeting would definitely not end peacefully. Fourth Crown Prince and two respected seniors, are you going to help? Or are you going to continue watching the show? Ningchen glanced at the three of them. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. His attitude was surprisingly friendly. Zhang Feibai frowned. What was this person's stance? Was this a scheme, or was he really here to slay demons? It seems that the two seniors still can't make up their minds. Fourth Crown Prince, what about you? Should we settle our grudges first, or should we slay the devil first? Ningchen looked at Yishuan Miao and chuckled. Slay demons, Yishuan Miao said calmly. Since that's the case, why don't we join forces? Since the two seniors aren't willing to help, I'm afraid that neither of us will be able to kill this devil, suggested Ningchen with a smile. Sure, Yishuan Miao said calmly. Have you finished discussing? The demon glanced at the two of them, and said coldly, Sorry for the wait. Please excuse me. As soon as he finished speaking, the red clothes moved, and the Yama King moved. The sword light that was so fast that it seemed as if it was about to fall had begun the battle of life and death. With a clanging sound, the two swords clashed. Shockwaves surged out one after another. The two bodies began their battle. They had the same face, but different sword intents. Under the moonlight, the Yama King and Qi Lian constantly clashed. They were as fast as lightning, and as heavy as a mountain. Speed and power clashed. One sword flashed and the other turned. It was a battle of life and death. The battle was in a deadlock for a moment. The cyan moth let out a trembling cry, and the tip of its sword shot out. The sword that was both firm and soft turned into a streak of blue light. When the two swords clashed, the cyan moth went from being firm to soft. It coiled around the sword. The demon's expression didn't change. It turned its sword around, and knocked away the sword on the sword. Then Qi Lian approached and attacked. Cyan moth cry. Yishuan Miao let go. The twisted sword instantly began to revolve in the air. The sword's cry was mournful, like the mournful cry of a cyan moth. The two swords clashed once more. Qi Lian and the cyan moth clanged against each other. Boundless hardness and gentleness combined to play the lament of swords. At the same time, the phoenix body condensed into a sword. It leapt into the air and broke through a mountain. When the tip of the sword arrived, the demon swung its sword to knock away the cyan moth in front of it. It then turned its sword to block the attack. But with a bang, boundless shockwaves swept out, shocking everyone present. The three shocking swords stood at the peak of the way of the sword. Now that they had gathered together, they displayed their most dazzling splendor. Cyan moth reverse rainbow. After exchanging several moves, Yishuan Miao's sword intent changed. The firm sword turned into a soft sword once more. The sword's arc appeared at an unimaginable angle as it approached the demon's body. Demonic technique Bloody Flames. The demonic technique was unleashed. Bloody Flames sword, and the cyan moth threw itself at the flames. The two swords clashed once more. Within the terrifying shockwaves, the Yama King opened the path to the underworld once more. Too slow. As he spoke, the demon raised its hand to block the sword. Killing karma erupted around it, instantly sending the two of them flying. A smear of red stained the corners of their mouths. The two of them landed on the ground. They each took 3 steps back and stopped themselves. What is his relationship with you? Yixuanmiao's expression became serious. It's a long story. If you want to hear it, then beat him up. I have plenty of time to explain it to you, said Ning Chun as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Yixuanmiao didn't ask any more questions. He took a step forward and arrived in front of the demon. The soft cyan moth transformed into a firm divine blade. With the sound of a sword clashing, the battle resumed. The demon brandished its sword and met it head-on. Shockwaves tore through the air, causing the ground to crack and mountains to collapse. The battle became even more desperate. Ningchen also turned into a streak of light. His sword was so fast that it was difficult for others to catch sight of it. Sword after sword sealed off the demon's opportunity to attack. Second Commander, are we still not going to attack? A disciple from a large sect asked anxiously, when he saw that the battle was in a stalemate. Wait, said Zhang Feibai. The disciple was unwilling, but he didn't dare ask any more questions. He took a step back and patiently waited for the order to be given. However, just at this moment, the battle suddenly changed. While the two swords were trapping the demon, Scarlet Drill released a fierce light that forced aside the cyan moth. Then a heaven-shaking palm landed on Ji Ming's chest. Hong Yi flew back and crashed into a mountain peak. She vomited a mouthful of blood that dyed the ground in front of her red. Oh, is this the end? Then it's our turn. Men kill. Just as Ji Ming was about to die, Zhang Feibai gave the order to intervene. Now that the two half-step sovereigns had entered the battle, thousands of elites from the large sects surrounded the demon, sealing off all paths of retreat. Fourth Prince, I've made you wait for a long time, said Zhang Feibai calmly. Yixuanmiao's eyes flashed coldly, but he didn't say anything. He had no interest in dealing with the demon's enmity. Devils in the guise of righteousness, your faces are truly disgusting. The demon coldly looked at this scene. Scarlet Drill's blood-red light soared into the sky. A terrifying pillar of blood dyed the sky red. Now, I'll show you what a true apocalypse is. The blood-red pillar appeared, and the scene of the apocalypse appeared once more. A terrifying pressure descended from the sky. It was filled with the resentment and killing intent of the millions of life forms that had died during the blasphemy war. Everyone's cultivation immediately slowed down, unable to circulate. Demonic technique, heavenly tears. The sword destroyed all life, and the heavens wept. In the next moment, a boundless blood-red rain of swords fell from the sky. Their terrifying power caused ghosts to weep. Ugh! Miserable cries rang out. And then there was the miserable scene of blood and bones exploding. Under the suppression of the blood clouds, everyone's cultivation techniques were severely restricted. It was difficult for them to resist the rain of swords. In just a few breaths' time, over half of the 1,000 large sects elites had died. Zhang Feibai and the other half-step sovereigns were shocked. They hastily dodged the swords. Demonic technique, blood flame. The heavenly tears fell, and the blood-red flames rose once more. The demon's body moved, and Scarlet Drill killed 2 sovereigns. Zhang Feibai and the other half-step sovereigns joined hands to block the sword, but they felt an unshakable power attack them. The two of them immediately flew back dozens of meters. Retreat! The demon's power was unshakable. Zhang Feibai did not dare to fight anymore. He stomped in the air, turned around and retreated. Seeing this, the other half-step sovereigns immediately followed, not daring to stay for even half a second. Pitiful people, you can only be abandoned forever. After the 2 sovereigns left, the demon looked at the few remaining disciples in front of him. Scarlet Drill slashed, and a terrifying blood-red light streaked across, cutting everyone's throats. Yixuanmiao's figure flashed. He wanted to stop it, but his cultivation technique was restricted, and it was already too late. In the end, only you are left. The demon turned around, and the blood-red light on his sword illuminated the 9 heavens. The most powerful demon, the most vicious sword stepped forward. With death at hand, Yishuan Miao sighed softly. There was not much fear on his face. The green moth hummed and gathered the last of his cultivation technique. In the next moment, the blue brilliance rose to the extreme. Among the mournful sword sound, a cold air spread out, turning the surrounding 3,000 meters into a world of blue ice crystals. Green moth transformation realm, origin of Qi. The most powerful move appeared. The green moth split open the blood-red clouds, turning into a origin of chaos sword, and crashed into the demon body. Facing the extreme sword, the demon body did not dare to be careless. Scarlet drill drew in the resentment and evil energy that filled the world. Endless karma surged, meeting the origin of chaos sword. In an instant, time and space stopped, and then there was a great terror that felt like the sky was collapsing. Shocking shockwaves swept out, and a disaster occurred within 100 kilometers. The mountains shook, and the ground cracked. The entire forest disappeared in an instant, vanishing into nothingness. After the extreme move, the purple-red figure knelt on the ground, leaning on his sword. Pools of blood flowed from his body. The Mizar fourth crown prince, a genius at the pinnacle of the central continent sword, had been defeated. Yishuan Miao, you have made me very happy. I hope that you can reach the pinnacle of the way of the sword again in the netherworld. As he spoke, the demon body stepped forward, about to end the swordsman's life. However, at this moment, a purple sword cut through the night, slashing towards the demon body. The demon body sensed danger behind him, and immediately used his sword to block the sword. However, he saw the phoenix body, who should have been heavily injured and dying, standing in front of him in perfect condition. The smile in her eyes was no longer there. How is it? Does it feel good to use an ultimate move? Ningchen asked indifferently. You are actually fine, the demon body said coldly. You and I are one. Don't you know that I like to hide things in front of my vital parts? Ningchen sneered. Black tortoise heart armor. The demon body's pupils contracted, and he immediately reacted. Correct. Unfortunately, it is too late. How much power do you have left now? Ningchen asked calmly. It is enough to kill you. As soon as he finished speaking, the demon body moved again, and the ominous sword slashed down towards the phoenix body. Ningchen's figure flashed, and he sent the heavily injured Yishuan Miao out of the battlefield with a flip of his palm. Then, his sword condensed phoenix fire, and 9 suns rose. He used the heavenly book of Yang again. Chapter 481. In front of flourishing Mount Hua, the demon and phoenix started their battle again. Demonic flames and phoenix flames soared between heaven and earth, forming a shocking scene of burning the heavens. No one interfered. When the two bodies fought to seize life, they fought at the peak. 9 revolutions of the heavenly sun. The wind and clouds on the swords were chaotic. Demonic flames soared into the sky, rolling and surging. The two swords collided continuously, bringing about a boundless disaster. Waves of fire fell like rain, scorching the land within 1,000 zhang radius. Similar faces, black and red, 2 swords, evil and righteous, 2 incompatible bodies. Today, only one of them could walk out. Sword style waning red. Demonic style path of blood. Mutually reinforcing and restraining moves. The swords came from the same source, each evolving to the extreme. The blood-red brilliance soared in the dark night. The instant the two swords clashed, the tribulation waves surged out like waves of blood. The shocking battle of swords made the bright moon lose its color. The two people who stood at two extremes had already raised their martial arts to the extreme. The brilliant brilliance was like the dawn, illuminating heaven and earth as bright as day. The swords clashed, blood splattered. Sword after sword bloomed magnificently under the night sky. It was so dazzling that it was difficult to look straight at it. Phoenix body, you can save the world, but you can't save the people you cherish. What are you persevering for? The demon took in chi and condensed it. The fiendish aura on the sword rolled. The undercurrent spread out. The earth couldn't bear the force and quickly collapsed. Kindness is as deep as the sea. Love is higher than the mountain. I won't dare to forget it in my life. I don't want to achieve immortality. I only want to wait for her to wake up. The phoenix body's sword turned the wind and clouds, the rising sun shone in the east. At the same time, the east ascension sun slowly rose in the great world. The first rays of dawn dispelled the darkness, aiding the heavenly scroll. With a loud bang, heaven and earth collapsed, the space shook continuously, the tribulation waves rolled, but in the aftermath King Yama rushed out. In a flash, he arrived in front of the demon. Ridiculous, your perseverance will only be in vain in the end. The demon raised his sword and took a few steps back. Qilian's ferocious aura rose again as he slashed his sword. Ha! The phoenix body shouted, and caught the sword with a flip of its palm. In the midst of the explosion, waves of dust rolled, the most dangerous confrontation of martial arts. Phoenix flames and demonic flames rose around the two people. In the most extreme collision, the corners of the two's lips were dyed red. Both were injured. Phoenix body, do you want to fight me to the death? The demon body killing physique activated the killing karma around him again. A grayish-black aura rose and spread out. The fate of knowing destiny is not controlled by anyone. The phoenix body also absorbed vitality and raised chi. The bloody light around its body was activated to resist the endless killing karma. 100 years for the Tao body. 1,000 years for the devil body. Devil technique, heaven's tears. The demonic body waved his sword to shake off the battle. Then, he took a step forward and leaped into the air. In an instant, the remaining resentment and evil origin in the world gathered together, and the heaven's tears technique reappeared. Nirvana. Seeing that the final move was about to arrive, the phoenix body also circulated the last of its strength and gathered the wind and fire from all directions, transforming it into the strongest move. Magnificent sword intent gathered between heaven and earth, and the sword of Nirvana reappeared in the world. With a loud bang, the two extremes collided. The might of the calamity spread out, and the terrain around Mount Shenghua instantly collapsed. The ground sank 3 feet, and the mountains fell hundreds of feet. The phoenix's body was dyed red as it flew out and landed on the ground. It staggered a few steps before spitting out scarlet blood. On the other side, the demonic body stood in the wild sand. Suddenly, there was a muffled groan, and the red light on its chest was dazzling. Not far away, the scarlet sword flew down and stabbed into the ground. As one body, the demonic body, which had consumed a lot of energy after a series of battles, was defeated. It's finally over. Ning Chun wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and walked forward step by step. With a flip of his palm, red light rose and enveloped the demonic body. In an instant, the demonic body dissipated and returned to the phoenix body. The next moment, the phoenix's cry shook the sky. Behind the phoenix body, a huge phoenix shadow appeared. It opened its mouth, and a huge suction force was emitted. The ferocious sword that was stabbed into the ground flew up, and was sealed into the phoenix's body. Are you okay? The battle had ended. In the distance, Butterfly in the Flower, who had barely suppressed her injuries, appeared and supported Ning Chun. I'm fine. Let's go back to the academy first. Ning Chun replied tiredly. He walked out of the battle, and carried the severely injured Yixuan Miao toward the academy. Butterfly and the Flower followed and left together. When the two left, on the Tianji stage of the Xuanji dynasty, the purple-robed elder looked at the dissipating demonic energy in the sky and sighed in relief. But suddenly, Xuan Tianhe's expression changed again. He was shocked. The demonic energy in the sky was heavy and oppressive. It was not inferior to before. The demonic calamity had not disappeared, and the wind and clouds were rising again. Impossible. Xuan Tianhe suppressed the shock in his heart. His hands flipped, and he calculated the number of cycles. The demonic calamity came from the east. Is it the forbidden land where the gods have descended? Xuan Tianhe shifted his gaze to the faraway eastern region. The gods had already left. However, the cultivators of the 4 regions were still unwilling to mention that terrifying forbidden area. However, this time, they had no choice but to face it even if they didn't want to. In the Whitefoot Academy, Ning Chun and Butterfly in the Flower returned. After handing Yixuan Miao to the academy head, they went into seclusion to heal. The two of them had suffered heavy injuries in this battle, and needed to recover as soon as possible. In the homeland of Western Buddha, in the ancient land of Chongling, in front of the purple light platform, the female noble looked at the knowing destiny's main body that was gradually stabilizing. She nodded slightly. It was right to let him solve this matter himself. The air swirled, and the female noble returned. She saw the plainclothed figure on the purple light platform, and a strange light flashed through her eyes. It was solved so quickly. Continued to merge with the life scroll. Back then, he used his lifespan to cultivate the forbidden move. He did not have much lifespan left. We cannot let his sacrifice be in vain. As she spoke, the female noble's figure dissipated and disappeared in a flash. At the same time, in the central continent, the sea of demonic wheel that had been silent for thousands of years suddenly shook. Hundreds of miles of land swayed, and sword light shot into the sky. Within 3,000 miles, the Khanate experts were shocked. Their figures flashed and rushed towards the sea of demonic wheel. It's the Alcade King. Everyone recognized the owner of the sword essence. When the Alcade King entered the sea of demonic wheel, he cut open a bloody path. They still could not forget that sword. The Alcade King is still alive. Did he really find a mortal palace? The Xiantian experts looked at each other in dismay, their hearts filled with shock. The path of cultivation was mostly for longevity. When the Alcade King entered the sea of demonic wheel, no one thought that he would still be alive. After such a long time, their guesses were confirmed. They did not think that such a great disturbance would occur in the sea of demonic wheel at this time. If the Alcade King was still alive, then perhaps a mortal palace really existed. In the north of the Central Plains, the battle against the demons that no one knew about had just ended. Zhang Feibai and Zhu Jingwu, who were severely injured, abandoned the Allied forces and fled back to the Central Plains. 100 miles away from Chaohui City, two silhouettes flashed past. As they neared the city, demonic qi filled the air, and the demonic cultivators reappeared. Black robes embroidered with golden patterns swallowed all light. Fluttering white hair, and a pair of cold and emotionless eyes made people feel cold. One wave approached, another wave rose. Demons appeared out of nowhere and walked towards them. Zhang Feibai and Zhu Jingwu's pupils shrank. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Could it be that the scarlet refining demon had companions? The three of them faced each other. The two who were apprehensive moved first. They condensed their killing moves and slapped towards the incoming demons. The demon stopped. His expression did not change. He waved his sword and his body was dyed red. With a ripping sound, his robes were torn apart. Blood spurted out. An arm flew out and landed on the ground. Zhu Jingwu staggered. He held his broken arm as cold sweat dripped down from his forehead. The demonic energy was hard to block. Zhang Feibai was overwhelmed with shock. Without saying anything, he turned around and wanted to escape again. Since you chose to attack, there is no need for you to leave. The demon sneered. His figure flashed and blocked in front. His demonic sword slashed past. Terrifying demonic energy roared and slashed towards the former. Different demons, but they were equally emotionless. The strongest demonic sword of the Eternal Night cult reappeared with extreme demonic energy. Zhang Feibai was overwhelmed with shock. He flipped his palm to receive the sword. However, he was already heavily injured. His qi was not condensed enough. The sword light slashed past, and his blood dyed the sand red. The white robes fell to the ground. His entire body was dyed red. He looked extremely miserable. The demon blocked their path. The two of them were forced to retreat step by step. Their attacks were dyed red. Just as the two of them were about to die, the wind and clouds in the sky swirled. A powerful aura slowly descended. The heavy pressure caused the sky and earth to change color. The two of them felt the aura of the newcomer. Their eyes, which were already filled with despair, suddenly burst with an intense desire to live. "Great Commander, save us!" Zhang Feibai shouted towards the sky. "Today no one can save your lives." The demon's feet moved. Light flashed as he slashed his sword down. With two surging sounds, the two of them were sent flying again. Impudent! With an impudent voice, light gathered in the sky. An illusory figure appeared. With a flip of his palm, 1,000 zhang tall wave of dust rolled. A cold glint flashed through the demon's eyes. He swung his sword to meet the attack. Shockwaves shook the sky. Waves of dust rose hundreds of zhang and covered the sky. Within the waves of dust, Zhan Feibai and Zhu Jingwu stood up and wanted to escape. However, a black light flashed past. The demon sword passed by and cut their throats. The two figures that fell to the ground were filled with unwillingness. Even in death, they still didn't understand why two devils had appeared at the same time. "Devil, what's your name?" the illusory figure in the sky said as it faded. "Xiazi." With a wave of his hand, the demon sword returned to its sheath. He turned and left. The illusory figure in the sky scattered and disappeared. At the same time, illusory figures reappeared on Devil Clothing Mountain. The person at the front calmly said, "Zhan Feibai, Zhu Jingwu is dead. Bai Qingwei and the Mizar Fourth Crown Prince are most likely dead as well." "The Scarlet Refinement Devil is actually this powerful?" asked another figure gravely. "He really isn't weak. However, what I don't understand is that the sword in the hand of the Scarlet Refinement Devil that killed Zhan Feibai wasn't the Scarlet Refinement Devil," replied the first person. "Great Commander, what do you mean?" asked a third figure. "There might be two demons," the figure called the Great Commander replied again. "If that's the case, then this matter is even more troublesome. Other than the Sword Master and Gong Wuhan, everyone else who has seen the Scarlet Refinement Devil is dead. Furthermore, Gong Wuhan is in seclusion, and the Sword Master is still unconscious. It's unknown if he'll come back to life. If there really are two devils, we won't be able to confirm their identities before encountering them," said the final person. "There's no point in talking any further. Notify the various sects, and have them send out their true experts. Otherwise, if the Scarlet Refinement Devil comes again, let them deal with it themselves." Yes, the three figures accepted the order. In the next moment, their illusory figures faded and disappeared. Chapter 482. In front of the central heavenly court of the Mizar dynasty, Yixuan Miao returned and knelt down. "How are your injuries?" Yuan Emperor asked from within the purple clouds. "It's nothing serious," Yixuan Miao replied calmly. "That's good. Go back and rest." Yuan Emperor nodded. "Yes." Yixuan Miao got up and left. A moment later, a black-clothed figure appeared in the central heavenly court and knelt down. "My Emperor, what did you see?" Yuan Emperor asked. "In order to prevent the fourth prince from discovering me, I didn't dare to follow too closely. I only dared to rush over after the battle ended. When I arrived, the elites and a half-step commander had already died in battle. The fourth prince also seemed to be seriously injured. He was brought back to Bailu Academy by Hua Zhongdia and the academy's Mr. Ning," the black-clothed figure said respectfully. "I see. You can leave now and continue to do what you need to do," Yuan Emperor said calmly. "Yes." With that, the black-clothed figure dissipated and disappeared. "Yi Qingqiu, Hua Zhongdia, I have underestimated you." After the black-clothed figure left, Yuan Emperor's eyes flashed with killing intent. It turned out that the academy had been acting for the world all along. In that case, the academy should have been on guard against him. It seemed that the academy must have something to do with the repeated attempts to assassinate the imperial palace. This situation was really ingenious. It annoyed him so much that he was interrupted several times when he tried to break through to the supremacy realm. The path of cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. It was even more difficult for him to step into the supremacy realm now. That academy head didn't seem to be someone who could step out of this situation. Then who was the one who set this up? Hua Zhongdia, the scholar from Jingluan Pavilion, or that Mr. Ning? What about the great calamity in the primitive land? How to explain it? When did the phoenix appear in the primitive land? And why did Mo Qingbai and Luoshan coincidentally enter the phoenix's great calamity? In addition, apart from Luo Xingchen, who were the other three experts who helped the phoenix cross the calamity? The more he thought about it, the more dark clouds appeared in Yuan Emperor's heart. Mo Qingbai was seriously injured and dying. Luoshan was too mysterious. The demon venerable in the primitive land didn't take the initiative to contact him after the calamity. It seemed that he wasn't in a hurry to come out. It seemed like he had to find an opportunity to make a trip to the primitive lands to resolve the doubts in his heart. After several days of secluded meditation, Ningchen walked out of the academy and met with the academy head at the pavilion in the middle of the lake. After discussing some matters, he left the academy with Zhao Liusu. Hua Zhongdia was hit on the back by Bai Qingwei and was badly injured. It would take some time for her to come out, so she could not come with them. The northern Zhao family was a true colossus in the central state. They had branches all over the 4 regions, and they used bows as their weapons. In the past 10,000 years, they had produced 9 human supremes. Perhaps it was because the heavens were jealous that the 10 were not perfect, but this generation of the Zhao family did not have a supreme being. However, even if no supreme being was born, no one under the heavens dared to look down on this terrifying family. Even supreme beings didn't want to provoke them lightly. With the inheritance of 9 supreme beings, no one would believe that they didn't have any trump cards. Ningchen took Zhao Liusu to the north. Along the way, he tried to persuade the little girl. This time, they were going to face the Zhao family, so he had to be extra careful. Liusu, how does big brother Ning treat you? Ningchen asked with a gentle smile on his face. Average, quite average. Zhao Liusu replied without giving him any face. Ningchen was speechless. This girl really didn't know how to talk. How could he talk properly when she spoke like this? However, a certain person's face was not in the category of ordinary people. He smiled and changed the topic without leaving a trace. Liusu, did big brother Ning save your life before? As the saying goes, a drop of water should be repaid with a gushing spring. Now that big brother Ning is in trouble, shouldn't you help him? Zhao Liusu raised her little head and said, Is big brother Ning negotiating with a hostage? Hostage? We don't have a hostage here. Ningchen played dumb. Zhao Liusu rolled her eyes at a certain person and said, Tell me, what do you want me to help with? Ningchen smiled gently and said, Well, your big brother Ning and the Zhao family have some grudges. If we send you back directly, there will be a fight. You also know that your big brother Ning has never liked fighting, so it's best to change his identity and ask you to cooperate. Zhao Liusu directly ignored a certain person's nonsense. After listening to the latter half of the sentence, a suspicious look appeared on her delicate little face. She said, Don't tell me you want to sneak into the Zhao family to steal something? Haha, how is that possible? Does your big brother Ning look like such a person? Ningchen smiled awkwardly and said, Yes. Zhao Liusu nodded and said. Ningchen felt that his self-esteem had been hurt. Big brother Ning, the Zhao family is very dangerous, even more dangerous than the rumors outside. Zhao Liusu did not know what the former was thinking, but she still reminded him seriously and said, Yes, I know. Don't worry. I won't do anything extreme. Ningchen nodded and replied. The main reason he went this time was to confirm if the death substitute talisman that Liusu had mentioned really existed. In addition, he also wanted to repay some of the Zhao family who had caused trouble for him. It was impolite not to reciprocate. Back then, the Zhao family had bullied the Marquis' estate, so he could not pretend that nothing had happened. The Xuanji Empire, the largest empire in the northern part of the central region. The 2 people who had traveled for several days arrived at the Jiufu city and temporarily stopped to rest. The central region was vast, and there were countless empires and sections. However, among the many inheritances, the Xuanji Empire was definitely one of the brightest stars. The Zhao family's main sect was in the Xuanji Empire. However, even such a powerful Zhao family could not suppress the edge of this ancient empire. It was clear that the Xuanji Empire's foundation was extraordinary. In the Xuanji Empire, the most eye-catching place was Tianji City, which was connected to the Xuanji Empire. Tianji City did not have a city lord, nor did it have any citizens. The entire city existed to derive the secrets of the heavens. The current generation's divine predictor, Swan Tianhe, was known as the first person in history. Of course, this was not because of his talent or martial strength, but because of his ability to predict the future. It was said that every time the emperor of the Xuanji Empire made an important decision, he would first send someone to ask for the opinion of the current generation's divine predictor. Tianji City played an important role in the Xuanji Empire's prosperity. Jiufu City was still quite a distance away from Xuanji City. Ning Chun had always avoided this kind of existence that could derive the secrets of the heavens. He was unwilling to get too close to it. He had killed too many people in his life. To someone who could derive the secrets of the heavens, he was no different from a lantern in the dark night. In order to not expose his many secrets, it was best to stay away from Tianji City. In Jiufu City, the two found an inn and rested for a day. The next day they set off again. Ning Chen's red clothes had become plain white. He held a folding fan in his hand. His delicate features had also changed quite a bit. With his aura restrained, he looked more like a descendant of an aristocratic family. Awkward. Zhao Liusu looked at him a few times, and still felt unaccustomed. Just make do. Remember not to call me by the wrong name. From now on, I'm called by Yujing, Ning Chen said with a smile. By Yujing in the sky, 12 buildings in 5 cities. Zhao Liusu said with a strange expression. How is it? The name is not bad, right? Ning Chen said casually. It's very ordinary. The closer they got to the Zhao family, the more confident the girl became. She was no longer as timid as when they had first met. Ning Chen once again endured it. He told himself not to bicker with the little girl. It wasn't worth it. As the two of them headed north, the winds and clouds in the sky above the central plains became more and more intense. In the primordial lands, the white serpent had left. Yi Qingqiu immediately sensed it and wanted to stop it, but she was stopped by Yao Qilua. In the demonic Wheel Sea, after the sword light that day, it had calmed down once more. The grand exalts of the various large sects had been watching for a long time, preparing to attack the forbidden grounds for the second time. As for the matter of Qi Lian's reappearance, which the various sects cared about the most, due to a coincidence, the various sects had no choice but to gather their experts once more to deal with the demonic tribulation. The two of them had passed by each other, but they had not met. The heavens were playing tricks on them. In the northwest of the Central Plains, at the end of the Xuanji dynasty's territory, the demonic cultivators appeared and continued west. Suddenly, dark clouds roiled in the sky and thunder boomed. Under the dark clouds, 12 figures descended from the sky. Each one of them was at the peak of the third calamity. After the 12 of them appeared, lightning flashed. Another 4 figures walked out and stood in 4 different directions. Their powerful auras were terrifying. The strongest lineup had come to deal with the demonic tribulation. The demonic cultivators stopped and looked at the group of people blocking their way. There was no change in their cold eyes. Demonic cultivators, we meet again. The leader wore a purple battle robe and held a long halberd. His eyes were indifferent as he spoke slowly. Killing each other? I'll be happy to oblige. Xia Zi waved his hand, and a devilish aura swirled out from his body. Within the devilish aura, an ancient black sword with strange runes descended. The moment he grasped the sword, the area within a radius of 3 kilometers suddenly darkened, and the space shook violently. Where's Qi Lian? Why aren't you using it? Ren Zhuge squinted his eyes and probed. However, before he finished speaking, the demonic cultivators had already arrived. With one slash, the clouds in the sky changed. Ren Zhuge's expression froze. He waved his halberd to block the sword. In the shocking collision, both of them retreated several steps. Kill! The battle had begun, and there was no turning back. With Ren Zhuge's command, a new chapter of the demonic war began. With the command to kill, the 12-peak 3 calamities instantly moved. Iron chains and sickles crisscrossed, trapping the demonic cultivators and reaping their lives. Xia Zi's feet moved, and he used body displacement technique to dodge the reaping sickles. Then he calmed himself and raised his sword. Demonic light filled the sky. The surroundings shook violently. The 12 figures retreated amidst the shockwaves. Not bad. Ren Zhuge moved and arrived before the demonic cultivators. With a swing of his halberd, the ground within 10 miles collapsed. Samsara, with one halberd in front and 3 swords behind, Xia Zi's sword shone with demonic light. The Samsara phenomenon appeared in the world. The demonic diagram on the sword released a dazzling black light. With a loud explosion, the sword and halberd both shook. Blood splattered and dyed the sand red. As the righteous and demonic cultivators fought, the battle instantly heated up. The sound of swords and sorrowful cries dyed the battle red. Just as the demonic war began again, a white-robed figure slowly walked over from 1,000 miles away. The prayer beads in his hands swayed in the wind, and two of them gradually changed color. Chapter 483. In the boundless wilderness of the northern border of the Central Plains, a figure appeared in the white mist. He looked at the ancient city in front of him and stepped into it. The demon venerable had arrived in person. He was looking for the base camp of the 13 great bandits to avenge the attack on his back. In the Green Origin mansion, a middle-aged man in a wheelchair trembled. He looked at the figure in the sky and narrowed his eyes. Kong Yuanxi was the second strongest of the 13 great bandits. His strength was second only to Mo Qingbai, who was in the perfection realm. However, his legs were crippled when the machete god went north. A few months ago, Mo Qingbai was crippled on the White Wolf Plain. 2 days later, Kong Yuanxi brought him back and saved his life. Who would have thought that the demon venerable would come to seek revenge? The Green Origin mansion was in the biggest crisis in its history. Under the pressure, a figure in white mist appeared above the Green Origin mansion. He didn't say a word. After his divine sense locked onto the aura below, he turned his palm and slammed down on the Green Origin mansion. With an earth-shattering boom, the palm force fell from the sky, and the entire Green Yuan mansion was reduced to ruins in an instant. Dust and sand were sent flying everywhere. The white flood dragon scanned the area with his divine sense again. Suddenly, he frowned and disappeared in a flash. 10 miles away the void shook. The figure in the wheelchair appeared and took Mo Qingbai, who was still unconscious, to the west. After a while, the white mist gathered and the demon venerable appeared. He looked at the figure in the west with a strange look in his eyes. Words were law. Knowing that he had underestimated the man in the wheelchair, the white flood dragon stepped forward and chased after him. In the northern wilderness, 10 miles was the boundary. The void flashed constantly. The second great bandit, whose legs were crippled, showed his shocking ability. Behind them, the white flood dragon's divine sense locked onto the two and chased after them. White light flashed and disappeared at an astonishing speed. At the same time, in the northwest of the Central Plains, at the end of the Xuanji dynasty's territory, the war against demons was getting more and more intense. The Scarlet Demon disaster 4,000 years ago had caused unbearable pain to the various sections. Now that the demons had returned, the various sects finally put aside their grudges and cooperated like never before. They sent out their strongest cultivators again and again to fight against the demons. The 12 peak experts of the 3 disasters brandished their iron chains and sickles, using all their strength to trap the devil cultivators. Black light and cold shadows crisscrossed, each move wanting to devour the souls of the people. While the demonic cultivators were being restrained, the 3 demi-venerables wielded long swords in their hands. Their swords were light and fast, and their bodies were like willows in the wind, mercilessly reaping lives. In the center of the most intense battle, Run Jyoga brandished his halberd and faced the demonic cultivator head-on. In the battle of the halberd and sword, it was a battle of kings against kings. Neither side gave way. The demon cultivator fought against a group of heroes with one sword. He took strange steps and brandished his demon edge. The ear-piercing sounds of divine weapons clashing rang out continuously in the battlefield. The 12 iron chains advanced and retreated in an orderly manner, and their tacit understanding was flawless. The 3 half-venerables worked together to protect the formation, and Run Jyoga was in close combat to pin down the enemy. The perfect killing formation was pressing down on the enemy, without any flaws. The demon-slaying situation was gradually tilting in their favor. Buried heaven. Xia Zi's eyes flickered with coldness as the demonic mark between his eyebrows shone brightly. His sword condensed the demonic aura and destroyed the sky. In an instant, it was as if the heavens were collapsing, and the earth was collapsing. The shocking might made people feel as if the end of the world had arrived once more. 12 figures were sent flying from the shockwaves. When they landed, they were forced to retreat several steps. Blood was dripping from their arms. In the center of the battlefield, the halberd and sword were in a deadlock. 3 swords pierced the devil cultivator's body, bringing forth a beautiful waterfall of blood. The devil cultivator's body was dyed red. An ray of light appeared in the battle. The devil cultivator's demonic aura surged out and blocked the 3 swords. Caught you! The devil cultivator's eyes shone brightly. He flipped his palm and slapped towards one of them. The 3 of them retreated, but their bodies suddenly trembled. They were trapped by the demonic aura and couldn't move for a moment. In the next moment, the demonic palm slapped down. With a bang, the sky was filled with blood. The demi-venerables died, their eyes dyed red. Wen Luan. The other 2 were startled, but they soon recovered. They forcefully circulated their cultivation to break free from the demonic aura. They grabbed the former and retreated 30 meters away. Help! Help me! In the end, Wen Luan wasn't able to say those words. His arms hung down, unwilling to leave. The death of a demi-venerate was the sorrow of the demonic aura. In front of the demonic aura, justice was blocked, and even a demi-venerate found it difficult to advance. In the battlefield, the halberd and sword clashed once more. Ren Jioge took advantage of the momentum to retreat several steps. Looking at Wen Luan, who was covered in the soul-perishing powder, the anger on his face was difficult to conceal. Devil Cultivator, your crimes are unforgivable. Hand over your life. Ren Jioge's halberd soared into the sky. Suddenly, the wind and clouds changed, and a black hurricane appeared. The demon cultivator's expression didn't change at all when he used his killing move. The demonic chi on his sword spiraled into the sky, turning into a vague image of a demonic god in the sky. It was impossible to see the face of the demonic god, but that terrifying pressure constantly filled the world. The 2 moves collided in the blink of an eye. The wind instantly stopped, and in the next moment, the world within 10 miles was destroyed. Amidst the raging waves of sand, a blood-stained figure appeared. He retreated again and again, blood dripping from his halberd hand. He couldn't go against the heavens, he couldn't kill the devil. Ren Jioge stopped and vomited another mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with disbelief. This was the first time he had been defeated since he started cultivating. This caused the only person from Taibai Mansion to be filled with shock and unwillingness. Amitba. Just at that moment, rain fell from the distance. A white-robed, white-haired figure slowly walked over. His face was calm, and he didn't have any selfish thoughts. He only had compassion for the common people. With the demonic calamity coming again, the Buddha finally made up his mind to not show mercy anymore. With the appearance of a human sovereign, the atmosphere suddenly stagnated. The golden rain fell to the ground, creating lotuses and repairing the destroyed earth. The Buddha and the devil who met again looked at each other, and they didn't say anything. The prayer beads turned, and in the swaying sound, the 7 Buddhas appeared. Sacred Sanskrit chants sounded in the world, and under the pressure of the boundless Buddha power, sin and devil were exterminated. The Buddha made his move, and Xia Zi's expression finally became serious. The demonic aura in his body roared out and coiled around his body, blocking the descending Buddha power. The Buddha and the devil opposed each other. There was no turning back in the most extreme collision. Since ancient times, there was no compromise. Between heaven and earth, the Buddhist power and the demonic chi continued to collide. Just as the demonic chi was about to collapse, behind the demonic chi, the image of the demonic god appeared once again. A terrifying pressure covered the sky and earth, temporarily blocking the Buddhist power's oppression. Bodhi narrowed his eyes and looked at the vague image of the god and devil behind the devil. Gradually, he revealed a shocked expression. How could it be? Just as the Buddha and the devil were in a stalemate, the void in the east trembled, and a figure rushed out. After sensing the powerful aura in the distance, he changed his direction and rushed away without any hesitation. After a while, the void distorted again, and white fog condensed. Looking in the direction of the former, he quickly chased after him. 1,000 miles away, the battle between the Buddha and the devil had reached a critical moment. Suddenly, monstrous demonic aura swept over from the distance, covering the sky and the sun. It was shocking. The void trembled, and the second great bandit appeared. Looking at the white-robed Buddha in front of him, His gloomy expression immediately changed to one of alarm. He shouted, "Grandmaster, save me!" In the southwest of the Central Plains, war chariots filled the sky in the demonic Wheel Sea. The various sects' supreme elders had arrived once again. The old monsters who had lived for hundreds of years already didn't have much of their lifespan left. For the sake of immortality, they were going all out. Once again, they were going to charge into the mortal world's forbidden area. The great sects were even more prepared. The light of their king artifacts covered the sky, enveloping the war chariots. The great era was glorious, and the great sects were at their peak. The might of their king artifacts far surpassed the past. Their auras were connected, covering the entire sky. Boom! Just at this moment, black light flickered, and coffins appeared once again. Ancient experts walked out of the coffins, blocking the path of the various sects' supreme elders. Sigh! With a light sigh, dazzling multicolored light gathered in front of everyone. A powerful figure that caused even the world to tremble appeared. He raised his right hand, stopping all of the ancient experts that had appeared. "I will block these corpse gods. You all can go," said the figure within the multicolored light. "Many thanks." The various sects' supreme elders opened their mouths to express their thanks. Soon after, they no longer hesitated and drove their war chariots into the demonic Wheel Sea. In the next moment, the dragon burial ground once again displayed its terrifying power. The war chariots began to violently shake, and the king artifacts cried out in grief. The war chariots fell to the ground with a loud bang, smashing into pieces. The black iron body's spiritual energy completely scattered, turning it into trash that was even inferior to ordinary iron. However, there were still people who rushed into the danger zone. Under the envious gazes of the aged people, they disappeared without a trace. Whether or not you can obtain immortality will depend on your luck. The human supreme being within the multicolored light sighed again. Soon after, his figure gradually scattered, leaving the danger zone. Within the danger zone, the coffins once again sank into the ground. Behind him, shattered war chariots were scattered all over the ground. The great world was filled with sorrow. Stepping on the martial path to seek immortality and immortality had troubled far too many people. In the northern part of the Central Plains, two figures continued north. After hurrying for several days, they were already not far from the Zhao family. The bright moon hung high in the sky, sprinkling down a bit of coldness. Under the moon a bonfire danced. It was so bright in the dark night. Zhao Liusu sat next to the bonfire, her hands supporting her pretty face. She looked at the person in front of her, who was in a daze for a very long time. After a long time, Ning Chen came back to his senses and smiled. "Have you grown flowers?" "No." Zhao Liusu blushed and shook her head. "In the past, I was also as stupid as you. I stared at a woman without blinking. At that time, I wondered how there could be such a beautiful person in the world. It was too unreal," said Ning Chen. "I'm not stupid. What happened after that?" retorted Zhao Liusu. She couldn't help but ask curiously. "After that, she cut me with a blade and almost turned me into a eunuch," said Ning Chen. "Serves you right." Zhao Liusu blushed once more. A moment later she softly asked, "You like her?" "I did before, but I don't know anymore," said Ning Chen. "Why? If you like someone, shouldn't you be faithful until the end?" asked Zhao Liusu. "You're still young, and there are many things you don't understand. Liking someone isn't enough. A person's heart is only so big, and it can't hold another person. So sometimes even if you don't want to let go, you have to let go." Ning Chen once more smiled. His smile was very calm, and there was no sadness in it. It was just that the indifference in his smile was filled with too many hardships. Right now, he could only live for one person. This was what he owed her. Chapter 484. At the western border of the Xuanji dynasty, Subhoodie and Demon Venerables suddenly appeared. The situation suddenly changed. The bandits were asking for help. The truth of Demon Venerables killing humans was so clear. Demons were in the way, and evil was hard to eradicate. Subhoodie sighed. He waved his prayer beads, and one of them changed color again. Buddhist light rose, enveloping the person who was asking for help. Subhuti was merciful, and he didn't want the common people to be harmed by demons. Bald donkey, are you meddling in other people's business? Within the white mist, the white flood dragon's eyes turned cold. Amipa, demon venerables, humans and demons have their own rules. You've crossed the line, Subhuti said softly. So what? You're meddling too much. As he spoke, white mist spread around the white flood dragon. Powerful demon chi descended from the sky, pressing down on the Buddha on the ground. Buddha is merciful. Subhuti sighed softly. Then, the prayer beads left his hand and rose into the sky. The 108 prayer beads collapsed, and golden Buddhist light shone brightly, rapidly spinning. The two venerables started fighting. The world trembled, and in the fierce collision, space collapsed and turned into nothingness. Buddha, demon and demon. The three of them stood in a tripod, each standing in a corner. The air currents surged between heaven and earth, shaking hundreds of miles. Huge cracks appeared on the ground, spreading horizontally and vertically, reaching hundreds of feet deep. With the suppression of Buddhist power, the image of the demon god behind the demon venerables became clearer. The purest demon chi surpassed the demons of the mortal world. It was so terrifying that even the two supremes felt threatened. Within the white mist, the white flood dragon's eyes flashed. Such pure demon chi. There was actually such a demon in the mortal world. In front of the demon god, the demon venerables looked demonic and murderous. His white hair fluttered in the wind, and his cold eyes were devoid of human emotions. Just a glance was enough to make people feel a bone-deep fear. Looking at the blurry face of the god and demon, the uneasiness in Venerable Bodhi's heart grew stronger and stronger. Without hesitation, he took half a step forward. His fingers twirled as he chanted the world-cleansing mantra. Every word of the mantra condensed into substance, turning into golden shackles that trapped the god and demon. Seeing that the Buddha was distracted, the white flood dragon sneered. He took a step forward and instantly entered the battle. He condensed Yuan with a flip of his palm and slapped the two bandits on the wheelchairs. Seeing this, Venerable Bodhi flipped his left hand, and the prayer beads fell from the sky, turning into a barrier, blocking the venerable demon's palm. An intense collision sound rang out, shaking the heavens and the earth. The ground between the two of them split apart, extending for tens of thousands of zhang. Venerable Subhuti was enraged for the rest of his life. With a wave of his hand, the prayer beads spun 1,000 times, and the Buddha light shone brightly. A single thought of Bodhi, pardon and slay all sins. Bodhi raised his hand to kill. The devil-slaying technique of the Buddhist sect appeared. The Buddha wheel of the 9 heavens spun, turning into a sin-beheading millstone that came crashing down from the sky. Ah! The demon venerable and the demon venerable groaned and took 2 steps back. Blood trickled down from the corner of their mouths. The sovereign of Buddhas, in order to exterminate evil, he finally let go of his benevolence and used his killer move to exterminate the demonic barrier. Bodhi proved the great Tao. Demons and devils were dyed red, and their murderous nature was born. Demonic aura and devilish aura covered the sky and earth, covering the rising moon, and turning the void within 100 miles into a world of sin. The Buddhist will shattered and scattered between heaven and earth. Demonic and demonic forces soared into the sky, spreading out Buddhist light. With the world-shocking righteous and evil technique, Venerable Subhuti fought against 2 of the strongest demons and devils in the world. The Buddha beads swayed, and 2 of the Bodhi beads' colors became deeper. Under the cold moon, one was a Buddha and the other a devil. On the other side, white mist filled the air. The demon venerable's murderous nature was fully unleashed. Without any hesitation, he slapped out with his palm energy. Wherever it passed, all life was extinguished and the space collapsed. The Buddha waved the prayer beads in his left hand, and a golden Buddha light bloomed, blocking the demon's palm. At the same time, his right hand changed, and the Buddha's words turned into a killing move, pressing down on the demon venerable. Danger struck, and Xia took a step forward. The demonic sword stirred up the wind and clouds, and a vast and boundless demonic aura rose rapidly. The sword slashed the Buddha, and its power shook the mortal realm's sovereign. With a bang, the demon venerable retreated again. Blood flowed from his arm, dyeing the demonic sword red. Reincarnation. The demonic sword slashed, and the reincarnation demonic diagram appeared again. The sword emitted Buddhist light, and slashed towards the mortal Bodhi. Seeing this, the white flood dragon also coordinated with his palms. One from the left, and the other from the right, killing the Buddha together. The venerable Bodhi's expression did not change. He turned the prayer beads to block the demon's palm, and twisted his hand to shake the demonic sword. With a loud bang, the power of the two moves was instantly reduced to nothing. The shocking Buddha was unbelievably strong. He was fighting 1 against 2, but he was not at a disadvantage. The aftershock dissipated. In the white fog, the white flood dragon narrowed his eyes. He raised his right hand, and in the battle a watery light spread out. The Buddha's words were law, and it reappeared in the world. Feeling the change in the laws around him, the venerable Bodhi frowned. He waved his hand and scattered the 108 prayer beads. The wind and clouds changed, and the Buddha world opened up again. Sanskrit chants appeared in the 9 heavens, and the heavens descended. The Buddha's words were law, and the heavens descended. The power of laws collided violently. This was a shocking confrontation between 2 supreme experts. And it was shocking. The moment the 2 experts clashed, the demonic sword in the demon venerable's hand flew up. The sword light shone brightly, and it turned into the hand of the demonic god behind him. The demonic god held the sword, and it split the sky. With a bang, the Buddha world collapsed. The venerable Bodhi retreated half a step, and the corner of his mouth was dyed red. It was the first time he was injured since the battle started. Amitabha. The prayer beads fell from the sky. The venerable Bodhi sighed softly. His hands moved and his fingers twirled. The ultimate Buddha technique reappeared in the mortal world. Bodhi heart meditation, Bodhi with a thought. The Buddha's holy technique appeared, and a golden lotus bloomed in the void. Amidst the shocking chanting, a huge golden swastika appeared under the Buddha's feet. In an instant, a dazzling light illuminated the dark night. The Buddha's light suppressed the demon and demonic auras, becoming the only light in the world. With a loud bang, the demon venerable blocked the attack, but it was difficult to resist the Buddha's might. His figure flew out, and his blood stained the dust. On the other side, the white flood dragon also retreated a few steps, and the corner of his mouth was red again. The battle between the Buddha, the demon, and the demon venerable was hard to come by in 1,000 years. The wind and clouds fell, and the moon was dyed red. The strongest Buddha in the world had a godlike cultivation base. Before the demon disaster, he changed his usual benevolence. His body moved, and the power of his palm shook the demon disaster. With a bang, the demonic sword trembled. The demon venerable's body was drawn dozens of feet away. Blood splattered, and his white hair was dyed red. Facing a powerful opponent, the demon venerable stopped and focused. The demonic sword rose into the air, and a vast demonic aura spread out, reaching its peak again. Autumn water flows through the yin and yang. The sea of clouds appears in the sky. The famous Confucian technique appeared again. The demon venerable activated his body, and a terrifying demonic aura soared into the sky, splitting the sea of clouds. The heavenly light descended, and the demonic might stirred up the wind and clouds, forming a terrifying giant whirlpool. The demon disaster was shocking, and Bodhi's killing intent became more and more firm. He flipped his palm and held up the sky, blocking the demonic technique. In the next moment, he turned around and arrived in front of the demon venerable. The Buddha's beads wrapped around the demonic sword, and he immediately slapped out, pressing towards the demon venerable's chest. In the face of danger, the demon venerable controlled his demonic aura to block the Buddha's killing move. Crack! With a soft sound, the demon venerable flew out. Blood splattered everywhere, and the bones in his left arm were shattered. Seeing this, the white flood dragon's eyes narrowed. He waved his right hand, and a raging wave appeared out of thin air, attacking the Buddha. The raging wave pressed down, but Bodhi did not dodge. The prayer beads emitted a golden light, blocking the wave. Immediately after, his palm struck out again, pressing against the demon venerable. The blood-stained demon venerable used his sword to support his body. The bloody light on the sword was mixed with demonic light, gathering the last of his demonic aura to meet the Buddha's palm strike. In Bayou City, the Zhao clan's main sect. The news of the two people's appearance, and the Zhao clan's little princess being sent back quickly spread, alarming many of the Zhao clan's big shots. The Zhao clan's fifth grand elder belonged to the sect master's branch. The sect master had no children, so he had always treated Liusu as his own, and doted on her very much. When Zhao Liusu returned, the Zhao clan's master, who was still dealing with important matters, immediately put down what he was doing, and appeared in front of the two. Uncle clan master. Seeing her family, Zhao Liusu ran up in 2 steps and hugged the former's arm. A cute smile appeared on her pretty little face. Where did you run off to? Don't you know that your father and mother are worried about you every day? Zhao Tinkong scolded with a stern face, deliberately not giving the little girl a good look. I was taken away by bad people. I can't come back even if I wanted to, Zhao Liusu replied pitifully. If you didn't run around, would others have taken advantage of you? You can't go out for half a year, Zhao Tinkong said with a stern face. Uncle clan master, I know I was wrong. Can I not go out? Zhao Liusu shook the former's arm with all her might, and begged for mercy. All right, there are guests here, so don't mess around. We'll talk about how to punish you later. Go see your mother first. Zhao Tinkong's expression eased a little. Okay. Zhao Liusu nodded, and turned around to secretly give a certain person a look, telling him to be careful. Ning Chun received the little girl's reminder, and nodded with a smile, indicating that nothing would happen, and that she could go without worry. Only then did Zhao Liusu relax and walk towards the back hall. Sir, may I know how to address you? After the little girl left, Zhao Tinkong's expression returned to normal. White Jade Capital, Ning Chun calmly replied. White Jade Capital in the sky, 12 buildings in 5 cities. What a good name. As expected of a hero's heart. Zhao Tinkong nodded and praised. Clan Master, you're too kind. I don't deserve it. Ning Chun smiled and replied. He didn't know whether it was a hero's name or not, but he knew that Zhao Liusu's evaluation of his new name was quite average. As for a hero's heart, there was no need to mention it. Mr. Bai, you're too modest. May I ask how you saved Liusu? That traitor of the academy doesn't seem to be ordinary, and he should have an even stronger butterfly by his side. Zhao Tinkong showed a puzzled expression and said, That person is indeed not weak, but I'm not easy to deal with either. As for the butterfly in the flower, I didn't see it when we fought. Ning Chun opened his folding fan, and fanned himself twice with a smile. I see. Thank you for your help. The Zhao clan will remember this kindness. I wonder if you have any requests. The Zhao clan will do our best to satisfy them, Zhao Tinkong said seriously. Ning Chun heard this, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He was waiting for this sentence. It's not a request. It's just that I've heard that the Zhao clan has countless famous bows since childhood, especially the 3 heavenly bows. They are rare divine objects in the world. I wonder if I can have the honor of opening my eyes, Ning Chun said. Hearing the former's words, Zhao Tinkong immediately fell silent. Originally, this was just a trivial matter, but now it involved the Zhao clan's dirty laundry. It was not easy to deal with. Just as Zhao Tinkong was hesitating, a cold female voice came from outside the hall. Mr. Bai's request is inconvenient. Please change it. Chapter 485. Before he even saw her, he heard her voice. Yuan, the Zhao family's heavenly genius, the successor of the Yingyue Bao of the 3 heavenly bows, walked into the main hall. Their eyes met. A familiar yet somewhat unfamiliar face entered Ning Chen's eyes. Ning Chen's lips curled into an almost imperceptible smile. Was this a coincidence or was it a small world? He didn't recognize this woman, but he had seen her face before. Back when the 3 sides had surrounded the city after the divine tribulation, the Zhao family's people had gone to the Marquis mansion to steal the Deathbreaker Bao. That face was quite similar to this woman's. Yuan, don't be so impudent. Zhao Tinkong's expression turned solemn when he saw who it was. Am I wrong? Or sect master, are you really going to agree to his request? Zhao Yuan indifferently said, My decision is not up to you to decide. Zhao Tinkong's eyes flashed with coldness. Perhaps I don't have the qualifications, But with this thing, I should have the qualifications. Zhao Yulan took out a golden medallion and held it out. Seeing the medallion in her hand, Zhao Tingkong's expression sank. A grand medallion. The grand pavilion was truly becoming more and more impudent. They actually dared to incite Zhao Yulan to publicly challenge their sect master's dignity in front of outsiders. Beneath his seat, Ningchen quietly sipped his tea as he watched the battle between the two of them with great interest. He actually knew a bit about the Zhao family's situation. That little girl Liusu was still very naive, so she was easily tricked into telling him everything. The Zhao family's grand pavilion and the sect master's faction were the two strongest factions in the Zhao family. All the other branches, big and small, were basically vassals to these two factions. They fought for power and suppressed each other without stopping. Wherever there were people, there would be fighting. Even more so for a colossus like the Zhao family. With outsiders present, Zhao Tingkong understood that he couldn't lose his prestige. He no longer cared about the medallion in Zhao Yulan's hand. Looking at the youth below him, he said, "Mr. Bai, the star scar bow isn't with the Zhao family for now. As for the other two heavenly bows, if Mr. wants to see them, I'll arrange them as soon as possible." Ningchen smiled and didn't ask anything else. "Thank you, Sect Master." "Sect Master, I will inform the highest pavilion of your decision. However, whether or not the highest pavilions are willing to reveal the Moon Bao to an outsider is not something I can decide." With that, Zhao Yulan turned and left. From start to finish, she didn't even glance at Ningchen. "I've embarrassed myself in front of Sir Bai. It's getting late, and I've already gotten someone to arrange a room for you. Sir, you must be tired after running around for several days. Why don't you rest for the night? Tomorrow, I'll get someone to bring Sir to enjoy the scenery of the northern imperial city." After saying that, Zhao Tingkong turned around and glanced at the maid in green in the hall. He signaled her to bring the guest to rest. "Mr. Bai, please." The green-clothed maidservant stepped forward and bowed. "Many thanks for Sect Master's hospitality. I will take my leave first." Ningchen expressed his gratitude and followed the maidservant out of the hall. The moon was bright, and the stars were sparse. The Zhao family was brightly lit. It was one of the largest families in the Central Plains. It controlled the entire northern imperial city. At a glance, it was filled with large and small Zhao family residences. In the east room, the green-clothed maid brought Ningchen over. After arranging everything, she bowed and left. Dong dong. As soon as the maid left, there was a knock on the door. Ningchen didn't even have time to reply before the door was pushed open. What entered his eyes was Zhao Liusu's pretty little face. Although she was still a bit immature, she was still quite attractive. Of course, a certain person was a blockhead and basically ignored her. "Why aren't you resting so late? What are you doing here?" After returning to the Zhao family, he couldn't bully the hostage anymore. So when Ningchen saw the little girl, he didn't have the slightest expression of welcome. "What kind of attitude is that?" Zhao Liusu curled her lips in dissatisfaction. "This is already the best attitude I can have. Don't you know that men and women shouldn't touch each other? If you enter a man's room in the middle of the night, be careful that you won't be able to get married in the future." Ningchen once again showed his poisonous tongue. "If I can't get married, then I'll stick to you." Zhao Liusu wrinkled her nose, unwilling to be outdone. When Ningchen heard this, he sized up the little girl, and then shook his head. He sighed and said, "Forget it, I take back what I said just now. You should get married." Zhao Liusu was so angry that her teeth itched. She took 2 steps forward and grabbed his arm, wanting to bite him. Ningchen reached out and pressed his hand against the little girl's white forehead, pushing her far away. Unfortunately, a certain person underestimated the little girl's vengeful nature. She grabbed his hand and bit down on it. "Hiss, quickly let go, it's bleeding." Ningchen sucked in a breath of cold air from the pain. If he hadn't asked for it, he wouldn't have angered this little girl. How did the little sheep from back then become a little wolf dog when she returned home? Although he didn't like the Zhao family, the fact that this little girl was able to follow the seriously injured Hua Zhongdia around him really touched him. He could bully her normally, but if he really wanted to force her away, he really couldn't do it. "Apologies. Zhao Liusu bit a certain person's hand and said incoherently, "I'm sorry." Under the eaves, Ningchen begged for mercy like a coward. "You're not sincere enough." The little girl was not satisfied and still refused to let go. Sorry. Ningchen showed his sincerity and apologized 3 times in a row. Zhao Liusu hesitated for a moment before reluctantly letting go. So the feeling of biting someone was so good. Why hadn't she realized it before? Ningchen took back his hand and looked at the 2 rows of teeth marks on his right hand. He bitterly smiled. This was a bloody lesson. Right, what's the matter? This time, Ningchen's attitude was much better. He was afraid this girl would bite him again. Only then did Zhao Liusu remember that she had something to ask him. She magnanimously decided not to bicker with a certain person and said, "I came to warn you to be careful of Elder Yulan. She's from the Grand Pavilion and has a very bad temper. She always causes trouble for me for no reason. She's very annoying." Ningchen smiled and said, "Your warning is too late. After you left today we already met. However, it doesn't seem to be as bad as you say. The Zhao family's Yulan is very famous in the central province. You must have done something wrong for her to cause trouble for you." Forget it if you don't believe me. You don't know how to appreciate kindness." Zhao Liusu angrily snorted, but then she felt that something was wrong. She had known him for so long, but she had never heard him praise anyone. What was going on today? You can't have taken a fancy to Elder Yulan, right? After saying this, Zhao Liusu felt that this was the case, and hurriedly reminded a certain person. "You can't like Elder Yulan. According to age and seniority, I still have to call her aunt." Ningchen was speechless. What was this girl thinking about every day? She was so stupid that it was refreshing. "Take a step back," said Ningchen. "What for?" Zhao Liusu didn't understand. Idiocy is a disease. It's contagious. In the Xuanji dynasty's western border, Subhuti slayed the devil disaster. A Buddhist palm swept out with heaven-shaking power. In an instant the sky changed color. Xia Zi's demonic mark shined brightly in the face of this Buddhist attack. The demonic image behind him became even clearer. The demonic sword drew upon the demonic energy of heaven and earth. Clouds roiled and lightning flashed as it slashed down. As the 2 extremes collided, the incomparable Buddha demonic aurora illuminated the 9 heavens. Amidst the rumbling waves, the ground within 100 miles caved in. The terrifying shock waves continued to spread, shaking the heavens and the earth within 100 miles. Bang! The demonic figure was sent flying and smashed into the ground. The demonic sword in its hand began to crack inch by inch. In the next moment it shattered. The demonic figure seemed to have suffered a heavy injury. It vomited another mouthful of blood, dyeing the ground red. On the other side of the battlefield, Kong Yuanxi saw that the time had come. He tore open the void and brought Mo Qingbai away. Seeing this, the white flood dragon waved its hand to disperse the shockwaves. It stepped forward and sent a palm toward the fleeing bandit. Subhuti frowned. His figure flashed, and the prayer beads in his hand released a dazzling golden light that blocked the demon's palm. After a moment of obstruction, the space behind them shook and the bandit left. "Bald donkey, you're courting death." The white flood dragon was furious that his enemy had fled. He raised his hand and condensed his demonic essence. A sword of awe-inspiring light appeared. With a slash of the sword, endless waves surged out. Subhuti's eyes narrowed. He stood in front of the waves and formed a seal with his hands. He transformed into the immovable deity body, as steady as Mount Tai. The white flood dragon waved its water sword once more. The waves around Subhuti's body began to spin. A huge whirlpool appeared, trapping him within. Flying waterfall. With a single word, a raging wave crashed into the Buddhist in the whirlpool. Amitba. Subhuti sighed. Blood seeped out of his fingers. He waved his prayer beads and formed a seal. Sacred Buddhist chants filled the sky. Heaven and earth became clear. This was the supreme Buddhist Tao. Awake in one Bodhi, Yuanming appeared in the mortal world. The swastika bloomed with endless brilliance and surged out. In an instant, the raging waves within 100 miles were annihilated and disappeared without a trace. The white flood dragon took the attack. With a bang, he was forced back several steps. The white mist around him was dyed red. He was heavily injured again. The Buddhist Tao was boundless. Demons were defeated. Seeing that the battle was in danger, a beautiful figure instantly entered the battlefield. Her body was as dazzling as the moon. Moonlight descended from the sky above the great world, adding to the bright moon's power. Scroll of the moon, moonfall. A palm as heavy as a mountain slammed toward the Buddhist with the might of the moon. Subhoodie's expression turned serious. He flipped his palm to block the sudden attack. There was a huge explosion and dust filled the sky. The woman's mouth was dyed red. She retreated several feet and used the momentum to quickly leave with the heavily injured Xia Zi. Subhoodie wanted to stop her, but suddenly, the space around him froze. His body was obstructed. In the distance, a beautiful figure appeared. She raised her hand and fixed the space. With a single word, she blocked the Buddhist. Seeing this, the white flood dragon stopped fighting. He moved his feet and retreated from the battle. In the next moment, Luotian's figure disappeared. Under the moonlight, Venerable Subhoodie stared at the departing figures of the two and sighed deeply. Although this devil had killed countless people, he still had the merit of saving the world. With the addition of good karma, it truly wasn't an easy task to eliminate him. In addition, that demon Venerable was not someone who could be easily suppressed. It seemed that it was necessary to rebuild the demon-subduing pagoda. Chapter 486. In the east wing of the Zhao family, the cold moon was shining. Inside the flickering candlelight, Jiming was standing quietly. He hadn't moved for a long time. In front of Jiming, a woman was sleeping quietly in an ice coffin. She was wearing a red wedding dress, and her face was as beautiful as a peony. The Rakshasa daughter of the netherworld had fallen in love and sacrificed her life. She had no complaints or regrets. Ningchen looked at the woman in the coffin silently. The sadness in his eyes was so strong that it would never disappear. Soon, when he found a way to enter the demonic Wuxia, he would go in and find a way to bring her back to life. If the power of the human world didn't work, he would find a power that was beyond the human world. If perfection didn't work, he would find immortality for her. No matter what, he would wake her up. One thought to become a Buddha, another to become a demon. Jiming was crazy and gradually became a demon in his heart. In this world, there was only one existence above the human world. No matter what records there would always be only one. The Lord of the Heaven, the creator of the 5 regions, the 7 ultimate heaven of Hades. However, the Lord of Hades was born as a god, not a human being. Humans were limited by their talent and foundation. Perfection was the limit. Since ancient times, no matter how talented the geniuses were, they couldn't break this limit. There was an immortal palace in the demonic Wuxia, but it was only a legend. No one could prove it. Tens of thousands of years had proved that humans could only be innate. They couldn't become real immortals. Death was like an extinguished lamp. They couldn't come back to life. This was the destiny. No one could be an exception. Buddhism believed in reincarnation and believed in afterlife. However, Jiming didn't believe in Buddhism, let alone afterlife. He only believed in this life. No matter how many years it would take, he would wait until she woke up. In the room, the candlelight was about to go out. The light gradually dimmed. The long night was the time when people were the most tired. Catch the assassin. Right at this moment, an angry shout came from an unknown place, and it immediately alarmed the entire Zhao mansion. Ningchen came back to his senses. He turned his hand over. In the red light, the ice coffin disappeared quickly. Bang! In the distance, a shocking collision sound rang out. It was obvious that the people of the Zhao clan were fighting with the assassin. Ningchen opened the door and walked out of the east wing. He squinted his eyes when he saw the battle in the distance. It was actually him. The face of the illusory figure in the distance could not be seen clearly. It was even impossible to tell whether it was a man or a woman. Only that familiar aura could be recognized. This was the mysterious expert who had attacked Zhao Liusu in front of the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion. The battle was extremely intense. The people fighting against the assassin were 2 old men, at the peak of the 3rd disaster. Ning Chen did not recognize them, but from their cultivations, they seemed to be the two great elders of the Zhao family. Working together, they were barely able to match the mysterious expert. "Brother Bai, I'm here." In the west, Zhao Liusu waved her small hand and waved at a certain someone. She wanted to run over, but unfortunately, she was stopped by the woman beside her. The woman looked to be in her 30s. Her face was 70% similar to Zhao Liusu's, but she looked more mature. It was obvious who she was. Ning Chen stood outside the east wing, looking at the battle in the distance, ignoring Zhao Liusu. It was not easy to get rid of this girl, so he would not take the initiative to find trouble with her. Now that her mother was here, he did not believe that she would dare to come and bite him. However, Ning Chen had still underestimated this girl's ability. Zhao Liusu had used some unknown method to successfully escape from the woman and run over. "Brother Bai." Zhao Liusu smiled very sweetly, as if she had completely forgotten that she had bitten a certain someone not too long ago. Ning Chen pretended not to hear, and continued to look at the battle in the distance. Even if he could not provoke them, he could still hide. "Ning." Zhao Liusu's smile became even sweeter. Oh, it's Liusu. When did you come?" Ning Chen admitted that he couldn't avoid it. He hurriedly replied with a smile. "I just came." "Brother Bai, I have something to ask of you," smiled Zhao Liusu. "What is it?" Ning Chen's eyes flashed with wariness. "Help me capture that person," said Zhao Liusu through clenched teeth. "No, I don't like fighting." Ning Chen decisively refused. It was not easy to find someone to help him find trouble with the Zhao family. There were not many such good people in the world. "You're bullying me." Hearing this, Zhao Liusu's beautiful eyes were immediately filled with tears of grievance, and she was about to cry. "Don't give me that." Ning Chen immediately took a step away from the little girl, to avoid being misunderstood. "Your Zhao family has so many experts, and they all use bows. What if someone accidentally injures you? Who am I supposed to reason with? You're so strong. Who can injure you?" Zhao Liusu pitifully tried to curry favor with a certain someone. "There's no point in praising me. The number of injuries I've suffered is more than the number of meals you've eaten. Now that I've finally managed to get out, if I were to be injured by an arrow, how embarrassing would that be?" Ning Chen was not moved at all and refused once more. "Ning." Zhao Liusu saw that her soft approach was useless, so she immediately used her trump card. "You want to capture the assassin?" "I didn't hear you clearly just now. What's the big deal? I'll be right back." Under the eaves, Ning Chen once again lowered his head like a coward. His feet moved, and he flew away from the battlefield in the distance. Swish! Before Ning Chen could do anything, he saw a white waterfall-like saber light suddenly slash over. There was no warning at all, as if it had appeared out of thin air. What a strange cultivation technique. Ning Chen's eyes flashed with brilliance. The flowing light spun, and his shadow disappeared. He retreated several feet. As he retreated, another illusory figure appeared. The same two sabers followed him like shadows, filled with killing intent. Ning Chen opened the fan in his hand, and with a clang, he blocked the saber light. Then he turned around, and dodged the second saber light. On the other side, another two illusory figures appeared to help the assassin. The two grand elders of the Zhao family immediately fell into a disadvantageous position. Just as a spectator was about to make his move, a sudden change occurred. In front of the Great Sun Divine Bao Tower and the Inuit Tower, a group of black-clothed men appeared. The two half-venerables in the front flipped their palms and smashed open the tower's doors, entering the tower to seize the Zhao family's two heavenly bows. Impudent! With a cold snort, the experts guarding the two towers attacked. Shocking fluctuations spread. They were also half-step venerables. Above the battlefield, Ning Chen was dealing with the two illusory figures, while also paying attention to the situation in the two heavenly Bao towers. He could see that these people had come prepared this time. It was up to the Zhao family to see how they would deal with them. "If you get distracted in battle, aren't you afraid of losing your head?" A cold voice came from one of the illusory figures. The saber light in his hand was filled with killing intent. Ning Chen took half a step back. His folding fan welcomed the blade light, and then he used the momentum to block the other blade light. Who are you? Can you tell me? Ning Chen asked in a friendly manner. The people who will kill you. Saber lights flashed as the two replied coldly. I hope you have the ability. Ning Chen didn't ask any more questions. The fan turned into a sharp blade and blocked the two saber lights. Liu Su, this Mr. Bai you know is not an ordinary person. In the distance, a strange light flashed through the woman's eyes as she watched the battle from afar. Of course, Brother Bai is the strongest. Zhao Liusu's face was filled with pride, as if her mother was praising her and not someone else. Liusu, don't forget that the daughters of the Zhao family can't choose their own husband, reminded the woman with a smile. Mother, what are you saying? I've always treated Brother Bai as an elder brother. Furthermore, Brother Bai already has someone he likes, whispered Zhao Liusu blushing. The woman smiled and didn't say anything more. Liusu was still young, and admiring the strong was normal. It wasn't something disgraceful. As a mother, she should trust her daughter. Furthermore, this young man had such a cultivation base at such a young age. It was truly extraordinary. If they could rope him in, it would be a good thing for Liusu and the Zhao family. As a member of an aristocratic family, when a woman considered a problem, she would always subconsciously weigh the pros and cons. She didn't have any ill intentions, it was just human nature. Zhao Liusu, on the other hand, didn't think too much about it. She could clearly see who was good to her. Compared to those peers and elders in the family whose smiles were hard to distinguish, she still preferred to be with Big Brother Ning, even though sometimes his smile was even more sinister than theirs. Split up the Zhao family's inner court. Kill anyone who resists. At this moment, numerous figures appeared in the battle once more. While assisting the various battles, they split up and charged towards the Zhao family's inner court. Seeing their intentions, Ning Chen's expression sank. Killing intent appeared for the first time as he attacked. You've ruined the only good impression I had of you. As soon as he finished speaking, his fan sent out a cold light that forced the two of them back. Within the Zhao family's inner court, numerous figures arrived. Seeing that the situation wasn't right, 7 of the Zhao family's consecrators quickly left the battle and came to help. The battle was over, and the Zhao family's strength began to weaken. Facing the endless stream of assassins, casualties began to appear. In the distance, Ning Chen turned back. Seeing this, the 2 figures behind him immediately followed and stopped him with all their strength. Something's wrong. Ning Chen finally felt that something was wrong. These 2 seemed to care too much about whether or not he would come back. Just as everyone's attention was on the Zhao family's 2 divine Bao towers, numerous figures spread out in the inner court, pinning down the 7 consecrators. At this moment, the figure closest to the woman, and Liusu suddenly released a terrifying aura. He sent the consecrator in front of him flying with a flip of his palm. Then he raised his hand and grabbed at Zhao Liusu. Half venerate. In an instant, many of the Zhao family's experts felt this powerful aura. They were both shocked and confused. Why did they split up a half venerate just to kill a few women? Within the Zhao family's ancestral shrine, Zhao Tinkong, who had been quietly watching the battle, had his expression change. His figure flashed and he instantly disappeared. Within the inner court, the half venerate raised his hand and grabbed at Zhao Liusu. At this critical moment, a white fan shot out and blocked his path. The half venerate changed the direction of his palm and shook off the fan in front of him. He looked over at the young man who had appeared in front of him and narrowed his eyes. What an extraordinary expert! Since when did the Zhao family have such a person? In front of Zhao Liusu, Ning Chen waved his hand and retrieved the fan that had been sent flying. He looked at the half venerate in front of him and said indifferently, "Although I don't know what your goal is, I don't care. However, I want to protect this girl. None of you can touch her." Chapter 487. In the inner courtyard of the Zhao family, Ji Ming blocked the way. His white fan was filled with killing intent. "You, humph." The half-exalted snorted and made a grabbing motion with his right hand. A white sword light appeared and in the next moment, the sword's edge was filled with killing intent. "Liusu, back off a bit." Ning Chen ordered and stepped forward. He used his fan to block the sword's edge. With a clang, the force was negated. The cloud moving technique was 30% block and 70% negation. It was continuous and had no flaws. You're not from the Zhao family. He had never seen such a style before. Frowning slightly, the half-revered martial artist changed his stance. I never said I was from the Zhao family. Ning Chen waved his fan again. The fan was like a blade that rode the wind. He no longer faced the half-exalted swordsman head-on. His blade was light and quick like a willow leaf in the wind. Getting involved in this mess won't do you any good. The half-exalted swordsman's expression turned cold. He condensed vast origin energy into his sword and used his absolute cultivation to suppress the white fan. Other than that girl, I won't interfere with anyone else. How about it? Is my sincerity enough? Ning Chen's figure was like an illusion. His figure flickered and became even more difficult to track. Then there's nothing to talk about. The half-exalted swordsman pointed his finger at the sword. His powerful true origin energy circulated and strengthened the sword's edge. The sword and fan clashed again. Sui was forced back half a step, showing off in front of an expert. Ning Chen's eyes flashed coldly. His figure turned, and he retreated from the battle. He closed his white fan, and sword intent rose around him. The fan turned into a sword and with a step, the sword's edge split the sky. The two weapons clashed. With a bang, the shockwaves spread in all directions. The tilted battle was once again balanced. The white fan in the wind moved like a blade. The blade turned into a sword. Even the half-exalted expert couldn't surpass it. Who are you? The half-exalted swordsman's expression turned gloomy. Who was this person to have such ability at such a young age? It was too unimaginable. Passerby. Ning Chen stopped and turned his fan. Red light rose and collided with the sword's edge. The sword and fan collided, and the two retreated at the same time. They were evenly matched, and it was difficult to determine the victor. At this moment, the void swirled, and a black-clothed figure appeared. His Majesty was no weaker than the two present. He passed by and directly flew to Zhao Liusu, who was outside the battle. The black-clothed expert suddenly appeared without any warning. Ning Chen was shocked. He used his folding fan to block the blade. While the shockwave shook him, he did not stop and used the momentum to retreat. In an instant he moved extremely fast. The two of them only saw a red light flash by, and Ning Chen was already in front of Zhao Liusu. The white fan transformed into a sword, and a single sword transformed into 100,000 swords. A world-shocking sword intent surged out mightily, and it slashed through the space 300 m in front of him. The black-clothed half-revered martial artist was shocked. His palm force collided with the sword intent. He was unable to react in time, and was forced to retreat several steps. He was actually at a disadvantage. However, as one of them retreated, the other's sword had already arrived. Ning Chen didn't have enough time to catch his breath. He grabbed Ling's sword with his left hand. Blood flowed down the sword and dyed the ground in front of him red. Two half-revered martial artists coming together to capture a little girl. I really have a whole new level of respect for your shamelessness. Ning Chen waved his fan and pushed away the half-revered martial artist in front of him. The situation was already very clear. These people had attacked the Zhao family at night and charged into the Divine Bao Tower. All of these were just a distraction. Their true goal was to capture Liusu. For the sake of a little girl, they actually made such a big fuss. The secret behind this was definitely not ordinary. Zhao Tingkong is almost here. We don't have much time. Kill him and take Zhao Liusu away, reminded the black-clothed half-revered martial artist. Understood. The other half-revered martial artist nodded. After a short exchange, the two half-revered martial artists moved at the same time. Their sword and palm moved together as they rushed forward. Seeing that the situation was becoming more and more dangerous, Ning Chen's eyes narrowed. He stepped on flowing light, and his shadow body moved 1,000 times. He used a strange movement technique to dodge the killing lights. The palm and the fan collided. The black-clothed half-revered martial artist flipped his palm and attacked again. He was shocked to see that Ning Chen's white clothes had already disappeared. 1 against 2, Ning Chen used his water-light shadow body. Coupled with his extreme speed, he used 70% of his strength and 30% of his strength. He wanted to drag out the battle and not give the two half-revered martial artists a chance. How troublesome. The black-clothed half-martial venerable's expression sank. He flipped his palm and shook off the battle. Shortly after, he began to absorb qi and raise his yuan. Amidst the rumbling, black lightning appeared in the surrounding heaven and earth. Seeing this, the other half-revered martial artist waved his sword to cut off the path of retreat of the youth in front of him. Sensing danger, Ning Chen gathered his phoenix qi on his folding fan. It rapidly spun into the air and collided with the black lightning descending from the sky. In that instant, the folding fan was burned to ashes. The lightning was blocked, but Ning Chen didn't retreat. Instead, he moved forward and formed a sword with his finger. The black-clothed half-revered martial artist flipped his palm to block the sword. With a loud bang, the sword intent passed through his palm and continued to pierce his chest. Ugh! The black-clothed half-revered martial artist groaned. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. He had also suffered a serious injury. Mr. Bai, thank you for your help. Leave the rest to me. At that moment, an extremely powerful figure walked out of the void. It was the Zhao family's master. He soared into the sky and took over the battle. Seeing Zhao Tingkong appear, Ning Chen waved his hand and closed his folding fan. He turned around and walked towards the little girl. He didn't care about the battle at all. You're injured. Not far away, Zhao Liusu, who had been paying attention to the battle, took 2 steps forward and grabbed Ning Chen's bloody left hand. Her eyes were filled with worry. It's nothing, Ning Chen said with a smile on his face. In the battle, the two half-revered martial artists' expressions sank when they saw Zhao Tingkong appear. Retreat! The black-clothed half-revered martial artist knew that he couldn't succeed in his mission anymore. His order was transmitted to every battle in the Zhao family. Do you think you can leave? Zhao Tingkong's palm contained the wind and clouds. An unparalleled majestic aura turned into a torrential flood that slammed towards the two half-revered martial artists. For the first time, the person who was closest to becoming a sovereign in the world revealed his powerful ability. A green flood covered a radius of 300 meters. The two half-revered martial artists were shocked. They raised their true yuan to the limit and joined hands to block the incoming flood. With an earth-shattering explosion, the two half-revered martial artists' bodies were dyed red. They were forced back dozens of steps. Their swords were broken, and their bones were shattered. They were defeated in one move. Outside the battle, Ning Chen's expression was also grave. For the first time, he felt a trace of fear for the Zhao family's master, who didn't seem to be special. Whoosh! The battle was unfavorable for the two half-revered martial artists. At that moment, 2 terrifying arrows shot towards the two half-revered martial artists. Seeing this, the two half-revered martial artists flipped their palms to block the arrows. With a loud bang, the two half-revered martial artists were sent flying. Their mouths were dyed red once more. Go! The two half-revered martial artists quickly retreated. Do you think it's that easy? A cold voice rang out and 2 more arrows shot out. They pierced through the void and chased after the two half-revered martial artists. Ugh! The arrows pierced through the two half-revered martial artists, causing blood to splatter everywhere. The two half-revered martial artists didn't care about their injuries and quickly left. It was already too late to chase after the two half-revered martial artists. A beautiful figure walked out of the battle. It was the Zhao family's Yulan. Holding the Inyu a heavenly bow, she looked into the distance with a bone-chilling expression. Sorry for letting them escape, said Zhao Yulan indifferently. It's not your fault. Keeping two half-revered martial artists here isn't easy. Let's first count the casualties. Zhao Tingkong instructed and did not say anything else. He nodded towards Ning Chen, who was a short distance away, before turning around and leaving. White Jade Jing. I'll remember your name. Zhao Yulan glanced at the plain-clothed youth in front of her, and indifferently said those words before also leaving. The human heart is truly unfathomable. Looking at the two of them leaving, Ning Chen sighed emotionally. What is it? Zhao Liusu's face was filled with confusion. Nothing. Ning Chen shook his head. He smiled and said, It's already late. Go back and rest. Wait a moment. Zhao Liusu glanced at her mother, and then turned and ran towards a nearby room. "Mr. Bai, I have to thank you again for saving my daughter's life." The woman walked up and bowed, softly thanking him. "You're too polite. Liu Su and I are friends, so it's something I should do," replied Ningchen. "It's my daughter's fortune to have a friend like Mr. Bai. May I ask where Mr. Bai's master is? Once Liu Su's father returns, I'll definitely personally go and thank you," said the woman. "Madam is too polite. My master isn't from any large sect, and it's located in the distant Nanling. I really can't compare to an influential family like the Zhao family. Even if I told you, you definitely wouldn't have heard of it, so I won't embarrass myself." Ningchen smiled. Compared to the immature Liu Su, her mother really wasn't a simple person. Although she looked gentle and virtuous, she was actually very meticulous. Every step she took was probing, but at the same time, it wasn't annoying. A woman from an influential family, especially one with a status like Liu Su's mother's, was much more scheming than an ordinary woman. That girl Liu Su still had a long way to go. Everyone had to grow up. No matter what happened between him and the Zhao family in the future, he hoped that she would be safe and happy in the future. "Brother Bai," not far away, the little girl ran over with the medicine box in hand. After opening the medicine box, she took out a bottle of medicine and carefully applied it to the injured hand of the former. Soon after, she carefully wrapped it with a white cloth and tied a beautiful bow on the back of the hand. Only then did she raise her small head and smile, as if she was asking for praise. Ningchen stretched out his hand, that was wrapped like a dumpling, and rubbed the little girl's hair. He smiled and said, "Okay, quickly go and rest. I'm going back too." After saying that, Ningchen said goodbye to the woman and didn't stay any longer. He turned around and left. In front of the inner courtyard, Zhao Liusu looked at the former's back as he left. For some reason, there was a faint trace of reluctance in her heart. The woman looked at her daughter and didn't say anything. When a girl was at the age of yearning for love, she was always ignorant and beautiful. This kind of time would be the most precious memory of her life. She didn't need to destroy it. Her daughter would grow up and become more sensible. That Mr. Bai did have a charm that ordinary people didn't have. He was powerful, mysterious, and sincere. However, he was also very dangerous. A person with a story was not scary. What was scary was a person who could hide all his stories in the deepest part of his heart. She couldn't see any emotional fluctuations in Mr. Bai's eyes. He was clearly smiling, but he still gave her an indescribable calmness. It was as if he had forgotten what a happy smile was. In the southwest of Zhongzhou, in the Luoshui River, the emperor with his white hair fluttering in the wind was unconscious. The demonic mark between his eyebrows was as red as blood, and was extremely dazzling. The emperor who saved the world couldn't save himself in the end. He became a demon, and there was no turning back. Chapter 488. In front of the Great Sun Divine Bao Pagoda, in the Zhao clan's North Imperial City, Zhao Tingkong kept his promise and waited for Ning Chun to come and witnessed the might of the heavenly Bao. Every 10 steps, there would be layers of protection. The most mysterious forbidden area of the Zhao family was finally revealed today. The majestic heavenly Bao Tower was built with strange black stones. It emitted a strange light under the setting sun, giving people an indescribable feeling of oppression. After the night attack last night, the heavenly Bao Tower's security was even tighter. Xiantian experts were guarding every direction, leaving no openings. When the two of them arrived, the tower's door opened. Zhao Tingkong walked in front, and Ning Chun followed behind. Inside the heavenly Bao Tower, dense mist floated up and down, as if they were in a strange illusion. After passing through countless formations, a huge black stone platform appeared in front of them. On the stone platform, a divine Bao stood. It was completely white, and there were insects, fish, birds, and beasts carved on the bow. It was the head of the Zhao family's 3 heavenly bows, the Great Sun Divine Bao. A divine object. Ning Chun looked at it for a long time and sighed. "If Mr. Bai wants to take a closer look, you can come closer." Zhao Tingkong said sincerely, "No need, this is enough." Ning Chun shook his head lightly, and knew when to advance and retreat. Zhao Tingkong nodded slightly when he heard Su Mo's words. Su Mo was indeed different from ordinary people. What he said just now was more of a test. In this world, there were countless experts who coveted the Great Sun's sacred bow. The strength this kid showed last night was really shocking. Even he didn't have full confidence in keeping him here. If he really had ulterior motives, it would be a big problem for the Zhao family. Sect Master, let's go. Ningchen didn't want to stay any longer after seeing the Great Sun Divine Bow. Zhao Tingkong nodded and waved his hand. The mist around the stone platform gathered again, covering the traces of the Divine Bow. Just as the two of them were about to leave, a white light flashed past, heading straight for the two of them. Ningchen narrowed his eyes and waved his hand to catch the white light. Kid, I heard that when you were protecting Liusu last night, your fan was destroyed. I don't like to owe people favors, so I'll give it to you as compensation. As soon as he finished speaking, the mist covered their eyes, and there was no longer any sound. Ningchen looked at the white fan in his hand. Immediately, he cupped his hands together and said, "Thank you, Elder." At the side, Zhao Tingkong had a strange look in his eyes. Why is this old man so generous this time? This fan was extraordinary. Its name was Clear Sunly Fire, and it was made from the leftover scraps of the Great Sun Divine Bow. Originally, they wanted to make it into a sword, but because there were too few divine materials left, they could only make it into a fan. The two left the Divine Sunbow Tower and arrived in front of the Inua Tower. Zhao Tingkong stopped and reminded him, "Mr. Bai, the Inua Tower is guarded by the Very High Pavilion. The people of the Very High Pavilion have always been xenophobic. Therefore, when we enter the tower, please do not leave my side, so as to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings." Understood. Ningchen nodded. Then the two of them walked into the tower. Unlike the Great Sun Tower, the inside of the Inua Tower was surprisingly quiet. There was nothing in sight, as if it was an empty tower. Zhao Tingkong took a step forward and flipped his right hand. A purple token appeared in his hand. Suddenly, a bright light rose up, illuminating the entire Moon Tower. The illusion became real. A staircase to heaven appeared and spiraled into the pagoda peak. "Let's go," Zhao Tingkong called out, and immediately walked up the heaven ascension stairs towards the top of the tower. Ningchen followed, one step at a time. After 900 steps, the two of them arrived at the highest level of the Inua Tower. The clouds parted to reveal the moon. At the peak of the tower, a heavenly bow floated up and down. In front of the heavenly bow was a beautiful woman. She had clearly been waiting for a long time. "Bai Yujing, seeing as how you blocked 2 assassins for the Zhao family last night, the Very High Pavilion has agreed to let you enter and view the Inua heavenly bow. However, don't let me find out that you have any ulterior motives. Otherwise, no one will be able to save your life," said Zhao Yulan coldly. Ningchen smiled and nodded. His attitude was very cooperative. He took 2 steps forward and looked at the heavenly bow floating in the moonlight. His eyes constantly flashed. Last night, he had only caught a glimpse of it and hadn't had the chance to look at it carefully. But now that he looked at it, the Inua bow's killing intent seemed to be even greater than Luo Xingchen's star-mark bow. The Zhao family's 3 heavenly bows were truly extraordinary. Back then, Luo Xingchen had been able to survive the endless pursuit of the Zhao family with his second calamity cultivation base. Not only was his battle prowess extraordinary, but his star-mark bow had also played a significant role. Seeing the indescribable light in Ningchen's eyes, Zhao Yulan's expression became even colder. "Are you done looking? If you're done, you can leave." "I'm done looking. However, I have a presumptuous request. I hope Miss Zhao can agree to it." Ningchen recovered. "Speak." Zhao Yulan narrowed her eyes. According to the legends of the Central Plains, the Zhao family's 3 heavenly bows possess boundless power. Would it be possible for me to have the honor of experiencing them? Ningchen's lips curved. "Oh." Zhao Yulan was startled at first, but then a smile appeared on her face. It was like an orchid blooming, beautiful yet dangerous. "Mr. Bai, this competition is too dangerous. Please reconsider." Zhao Tingkong frowned and stepped forward to advise him. "Sect Master, don't worry. I'll be lenient." Ningchen smiled. "Ha, I admire your arrogance." Zhao Yulan waved her hand, and the heavenly bow moved. An azure arrow shot out. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Su Yi. Ning Chen's expression didn't change. He opened his fan and blocked the arrow. "Miss Zhao, we don't have much time, so there's no need for greetings. Let's fight for real." "As you wish." With that, Zhao Yulan clenched her left hand. In the next moment, a dark moon descended from the sky. Boundless yin qi surged, causing the temperature around them to rapidly drop. In the southwest region of the Central Plains, a cold moon hung in the sky. Spring and autumn flowed, and snowy plum blossoms bloomed. This was a dreamlike secret realm. It was like a beautiful painting. Within the painting, a woman was playing a zither. The Luo River Divine Maiden was a wondrous woman, who was no weaker than a chosen. At the half-step exalt realm, she had grasped the power of laws that even chosen would find difficult to comprehend. Just at this moment, the space in the painting shook, and a middle-aged man in a wheelchair appeared. He looked at the woman playing the zither in the distance. He was just about to walk over when a barrier of water blocked him, making it difficult for him to take even half a step forward. "Goddess Luo, Big Brother is in trouble. Please, for the sake of our past friendship, save him," pleaded Kong Yuanxi from his wheelchair. "I've already repaid the favor. Please return. My friend's mood is very bad right now. If she wants to fuss about what happened that day, I won't help you," said Goddess Luo calmly as she played the zither. Kong Yuanxi's expression immediately became unsightly. Anger flashed in his eyes. "Mi Fei, we've known each other for so many years. Are you really going to just watch him die? Just now, she let you leave because of our past friendship. Unfortunately, you didn't cherish it." As she spoke, the barrier of water shattered and space froze. A beautiful figure surrounded by dazzling moonlight appeared. She looked at the man Kong Yuanxi had brought with him, not hiding the killing intent in her eyes. "Who are you?" Seeing this woman appear, Kong Yuanxi's expression sank. "The person who will kill you." As soon as she spoke, moonlight flashed. In the blink of an eye, the beautiful figure arrived. She turned her palm and condensed essence energy. Kong Yuanxi was startled. He raised his palm to block, but with a bang, he was sent flying back several steps. Beneath the cold moonlight, Goddess Luo was filled with killing intent. She moved once more, her palm striking down with astonishing power. Big Ko was startled and angry. He turned his wheelchair, wanting to use so close, yet worlds apart. However, a shocking scene occurred. Within the frozen space, the void shook for a brief moment before quickly calming down. Moonlight arrived. A palm landed on Big Ko's body, bringing with it a waterfall of blood. The wheelchair was sent flying, blood splashing everywhere, dyeing the sky red. "You want to use the space laws in front of me? How foolish." Goddess Luo didn't stop. Her figure flashed. Her palm condensed killing intent and fell once more. With a bang, a mistake occurred. Her palm struck his head and blood gushed into the sky. In front of his unwilling eyes, Big Ko died. For the sake of justice, this woman of the Eternal Night sect began another slaughter. With Big Ko dead and Qingbai in critical condition, Goddess Luo's killing intent hadn't yet been restrained. She raised her hand, wanting to send this human supreme to the Yellow Springs. In the distance, Goddess Luo sighed. She waved her hand and put away her zither. Then, her figure flashed, and she appeared in front of Goddess Luo. "Goddess Luo, Imo Qingbai's cultivation has been crippled, and his qi has been destroyed. Even if he wakes up, it's impossible for him to practice martial arts again. For my sake, please spare his life." Goddess Luo pleaded. Goddess Luo narrowed her eyes. A moment later, her killing intent gradually converged. She lightly said, "I can spare his life. But whether or not Knowledge Destiny wants to spare his life in the future will depend on his luck." After saying this, Goddess Luo didn't say anything else. She turned and left. 2 steps later, she vanished from sight. 10 miles away, in the gurgling Luoshui River, a white-haired figure in black clothes floated up and down. On the riverside, a beautiful figure appeared. She looked at the unconscious sovereign in the river, and a trace of unconcealable sadness flashed in her eyes. After the battle to send off the deity, there were only a few friends left. They could save the world, But they couldn't save the people they cherished. Why did the heavens always refuse to let them go? Was it because of the slaughter they had committed? If they wanted to punish them, was this enough? Have you considered whether or not to let him wake up? Goddess Lua walked over and asked softly. Those who had fallen into the demonic path could no longer turn back in this life. Even if they woke up, they would only be strangers. It was impossible for them to return to the past. No need. Once he recovers, I will take him away until I find a way to bring him back. Goddess Luo concealed the emotions in her eyes and calmly replied. They would walk their own path. No matter what lay ahead, they would do their best to walk it. When Goddess Luo heard this, she sighed softly in her heart. She hadn't seen it with her own eyes, so she didn't know what kind of despair the divine prefecture of the eastern region had experienced. She didn't know what kind of sacrifices the powerhouses of the divine prefecture had made to send the deity away. However, she knew very well that that catastrophe must have been the darkest time of the world. After I leave, if knowledge destiny comes, please tell him that I'm taking Xiazi away. Tell him not to worry. If fate wills it, we'll meet again. Goddess Luo looked at the figure in the river and calmly said, Okay. Goddess Luo nodded and softly replied. Chapter 489. On the peak of the Inua Pagoda, two strong cultivators began their battle. One was wearing a white fan, while the other was wearing a long dress and a cold bow. The battle was about to begin. The moon of the ninth heaven shone through the small window at the top of the pagoda. The cold moonlight shone on the black bow, reflecting a bone-chilling light. Please. The moment the dark clouds avoided the moon, Sui moved. In a flash, she arrived in front of Yulan. Her white fan was like a sword, drawing out a dazzling light. Last night, she had seen the speed and technique of the person in front of her. Zhao Yulan was prepared. Her soft body twisted in a strange arc to avoid the killing light from the white fan. After failing in one move, Ning Chen pressed down on the fan in his hand. A fierce attack followed like a shadow. Zhao Yulan flipped her right hand and blocked the fan. Then, she took advantage of the momentum to retreat 10 meters. The Inua bow was drawn, and a black arrow shot out. The arrow was so fast that it was shocking. The white fan in Ning Chen's hand rose up to meet the arrow. With a clang, the arrow scattered, and Sui retreated. However, at this moment true killing intent arrived. 3 beams of black light shot forth, tearing through the void and arriving in front of Sui. Ning Chen's eyes narrowed. He calmed himself down and fanned the wind and clouds. The red flames turned into a raging torrent that blocked the incoming arrow. With a loud rumble, the aftermath surged. Sui dissipated, and the flowing light flickered. She once again pressed forward. White sand leads the killing. There was no pity for the fairer sex. Every move was ruthless. Zhao Yulan's eyes grew colder. She dodged and blocked. Her soft body swam in the white fan's killing light like duckweed in the rain, ready to sink at any moment. The two showed no mercy. Every move was to kill. It was not like a competition, but more like a battle of life and death. Inua sentiments. The Inua bow left her hand and drew the bow. The crescent moon was complete, and a whistling arrow shot out to end the battle. Yulan took advantage of the momentum and retreated to the side of the Inua bow. She pulled the bowstring with her left hand, and a crackling thunder light descended. Remnant wind fleeting shadow. Seeing this, Ning Chen took a step and leaped forward. His body split into thousands of shadows, which constantly flickered in the air to avoid the arrow light. Soon after, they separated and merged into one, which streaked across the sky at an extremely fast speed. Back then, Mu Qingxue had secretly learned the moves of the Heaven and Earth Scroll out of heartache. Mu Qingxue was well aware of the other party's petty and shameless behavior. However, he didn't point it out and pretended not to see it. There were too many experts in the Zhao family, and Ning Chen was worried that his identity would be exposed. Therefore, he did not use his own martial arts, but chose to use a move or two that he had secretly learned in the past. The separated and condensed shadow cut through the dim void under the moonlight and arrived in front of Yulan. The white fan turned into a sword, threatening her life. Seeing that she was about to be killed, Zhao Yulan couldn't care about anything else. Her left hand drew across the bowstring, and blood dyed the bow red. In an instant, a beautiful blood-red light soared into the sky, and a terrifying aura quickly awakened. The bow disappeared in the blink of an eye, and reappeared behind the two of them. The bow was drawn, and the blood-red light illuminated the world. The arrow shot out, destroying everything in its path. The instant the arrow shot out, Zhao Yulan's body moved to avoid the Yellow Springs Road that was about to open under the moonlight. The heavenly bow had awakened, and a sense of crisis had descended upon them. Ning Chen immediately withdrew his attack, and without even thinking about it, he hugged the Zhao family's Yulan, refusing to let go. Zhao Yulan's expression became extremely unsightly. However, the Yellow Springs Road was about to open, and there was no time for her to withdraw her attack. She could only take this shameless person with her and flee. In the next moment, the blood-red light pierced through the sky, and the Yellow Springs Road opened up a path. In an instant, the pagoda's layers of restrictions were destroyed. How long are you going to hug me for? Within the pagoda, Zhao Yulan's expression was as cold as ice. Hearing this, Ning Chen immediately let go and retreated 2 steps, pretending as if nothing had happened. A smile appeared on his face. The Zhao family's Yulan truly lives up to her reputation. I admit defeat. Sectmaster, let's go. Knowing that this wasn't a place to stay, Ning Chen called out to Zhao Tinkong. Without waiting for a response, he turned and left. Zhao Tinkong came back to his senses, and a strange expression appeared on his face. He didn't say anything and left with him. Just as the two of them left, a huge explosion rang out from the peak of the pagoda, as if something had been smashed apart. The sound was truly shocking. As a result, the two of them quickened their steps. After leaving the pagoda, Ning Chen said goodbye to Zhao Tinkong, then walked back to his own room. Today's goal had been achieved. Next, it was time to prepare for the next step of the plan. In front of the pagoda, Zhao Tinkong turned to look at the Inua pagoda that had been pierced through by the arrow. A strange light flashed in his eyes. Although this Mr. Bai's method of dealing with that arrow just now was a bit shameless, to be able to react in such a short time was truly extraordinary. During a battle, there wasn't much time to think. Most of the time, one had to rely on their body's instincts. To put it more simply, they relied on experience. It was also because of this that two people in the same realm could have a world of difference in strength. Ever since the return of the Eastern Divine Land, the heavens and earth had been mended. The younger generation of the various sects and clans had endless geniuses. However, there were still not many who could truly challenge the older generation. The reason was because of the gap in battle experience. However, the appearance of this Mr. Bai had changed his view of the younger generation. His moves were simple, fast and accurate. There weren't any flashy moves. Especially in battle, it was so perfect that it gave people goosebumps. To put it simply, if this person wasn't a peerless genius in battle, then he was a true monster who had walked step by step through life and death battles. To be honest, if it was the former, then it wouldn't be so bad. In the endless years of the Zhao clan, they had produced all kinds of geniuses. Even if they were monstrous geniuses, they wouldn't be treated like a treasure like the other clans. The Zhao clan believed in strength. Geniuses needed time and training to grow. They had seen too many monstrous geniuses fall in the process of growing up. Compared to geniuses, the truly terrifying ones were the monsters who had walked step by step. After experiencing too many life and death battles, these people's ability to protect themselves was extremely terrifying. The more dangerous the situation, the more amazing the strength they showed. The Zhao clan originally had such a person. Unfortunately, thinking of this, Zhao Tinkong sighed deeply. In the past 100 years, the biggest mistake the Zhao clan had made was to force away a genius who was supposed to be the future of the Zhao clan. In the East Wing, Ning Chen had just opened the door to his room when he saw Zhao Liusu sitting at the table, holding her small face with her hands in a daze. When the door opened, the little girl immediately got up and trotted happily. "You're back. How is it? Did you see me? Hey, why are your clothes torn? Did you fight with someone?" The little girl's endless questions made Ning Chen's head ache. He stepped around her and walked towards the tea table. This girl's mother didn't care about her, and came here every day. She really didn't trust his character. Why didn't you go back to rest? Why did you come here again? Ning Chen sat down at the table, and poured himself a cup of tea. He really wasn't used to having to do everything himself, when Ruoxi wasn't around. You still haven't answered me. Didn't you go see Heavenly Bao? Why did you fight again? Zhao Liusu asked with dissatisfaction. It's a long story. I went to the Yin Moon Tower and saw Zhao Yulan. I didn't like her, so I fought with her. Ning Chen took a sip of tea and replied. Oh, it's not long. Did you win or lose? Zhao Liusu curiously asked. I lost. Ning Chen casually replied. Ah, how did I lose? Did you go easy on me? What's that smell? Speaking up to hear. Zhao Liusu suddenly felt something was wrong. Taking a step forward, she lowered her head and sniffed the former's body. Are you a dog? What are you sniffing? Ning Chen reached out and pushed the pretty little face in front of him away. She was too close and he felt dizzy. Your clothes have Elder Yulan's scent. Tell me honestly, what did you do? Zhao Liusu raised her hand and pointed in front of him. Ning Chen raised his arm in surprise and sniffed it. It really did have the scent of orchids. It was very light. If one didn't smell it carefully, they wouldn't have noticed it. How did this girl's nose grow? It was even more sensitive than a dog's. It's a long story. I'll tell you later. Ning Chen poured himself another cup of tea and casually replied. I have plenty of time. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Zhao Liusu made up her mind not to let a certain someone get away with it. She moved a chair and sat in front of the former. Okay, you can speak now. I was competing with your elder Yulan. Originally, our strength was about the same. Neither of us could do anything to the other. Who knew that she would suddenly use a big move? When I saw that I was going to be unlucky, I directly hugged her. Think about it, we were so close. She couldn't have shot herself through the heart, right? Speaking up to hear. Ning Chen felt something was wrong. Why should he explain? He didn't know this girl anything. That's all? Zhao Liusu doubtfully asked. That's all. Ning Chen nodded. The Zhao family's sect master was still nearby. No matter how much of a beast he was, it was impossible for him to be so bold as to do something that would incur the wrath of men and gods in someone else's territory. Right, give me your hand. Suddenly, Ning Chen seemed to have thought of something and looked at the little girl in front of him. What for? Zhao Liusu suspiciously asked. Checking your body. Ning Chen casually replied. Pervert. Zhao Liusu's face reddened, and she immediately got up and took 2 steps back. Her expression was full of vigilance. Ning Chen was startled, but he immediately reacted and said disdainfully, What is that little head of yours thinking every day? Even if you want to be a pervert, you should choose that elder Yulan. Her temperament is better than yours, and she's also prettier than you. Quickly come over. I suspect that those assassins yesterday wanted to capture you to find something. I'm still young. When I grow up, I'll definitely be prettier than her. Zhao Liusu muttered in dissatisfaction. Then, she slowly walked forward and stretched out her fair and slender little hand. Ning Chen reached out and grabbed the little girl's arm. He poured his true essence into it and carefully searched along her meridians. He was sure that Zhao Liusu definitely had some sort of secret, and it was very likely that this secret was only known by Zhao Tingkong and a very small number of people in the highest pavilion. After seeing the coldness and ruthlessness of aristocratic families, he was unable to give any trust to these people. Last night's matter had too many suspicious points. He was worried that the Zhao family was planning something, and this girl was just one of their chess pieces. Zhao Liusu looked at the serious appearance of the person in front of her, and a touch of warmth rose in her heart. Perhaps even Big Brother Ning himself didn't know, but when he was focused, he really was very attractive. Chapter 490. The phoenix spirit entered Zhao Liusu's body and spread in her meridians. Ning Chen looked more and more serious, and his heart sank. He didn't find anything unusual. On the contrary, it was too normal, so normal that it was a little abnormal. This girl's martial arts foundation was almost perfect, as if it was created according to the will of a person. In this world he had seen many martial arts geniuses. The most talented one was undoubtedly Mu Qingxue, who had stepped into the Khanate realm when all of them were still in the acquired realm. However, no matter how extraordinary a person's foundation was, there would always be various shortcomings. However, he found almost no shortcomings in Liusu, which was really incredible. After a quarter of an hour, Ning Chen stopped. He looked at the girl in front of him and said seriously, "Liusu, do you believe in Brother Ning?" Yes. Although she didn't know why he asked this, Zhao Liusu nodded affirmatively and answered. Ning Chen stood up and waved his hand to close the door and the window. He said softly, "Relax. Don't have any thoughts of resistance. If you don't, you and I may get hurt." Okay. Zhao Liusu nodded and agreed obediently. Ning Chen's expression hardened. He raised his hand and placed it between the girl's eyebrows. A faintly discernible cry of a phoenix was heard. Inside the room, a giant shadow of a phoenix appeared. Then, an illusory shadow walked out and merged with the girl's spiritual consciousness. He didn't find anything in Liusu's body, so he could only check if there was anything wrong with her 3 souls. Although it was a little risky, there was no other way. In the divine sense space, the most unknown secret place in the human body, Ning Chen's soul walked in it. After experiencing the influence of the 7 souls, joy, anger, sorrow, fear, love, evil and desire, his steps became heavier and heavier. Human emotions, no matter joy, anger, sorrow, or joy, were the original sins that increased the burden on the soul. Without the protection of the body, the soul of knowing destiny, who had left the body, experienced the 7 souls' emotions. Every step he took was extremely difficult, as if there were 7 mountains pressing down on him. After searching for a long time, Ning Chen suddenly stopped. Looking at the 3 illusory shadows in front of him, his eyes narrowed slightly. Found them. The 3 souls in the human world, the heaven soul, the earth soul, and the life soul. Ning Chen glanced at the 2 souls of heaven and earth, and fixed his gaze on the most important life spirit. At this moment, knowing destiny, who was always calm, suddenly changed his expression. Since she had yet to enter the innate realm, her soul had yet to solidify. A mark that had never been seen before was constantly rotating in the little girl's life spirit. It was silent and undetectable. Ning Chen suppressed the anger in his heart and flipped his right hand. Across the boundless space, he guided the power in his body into Lu Su's soul, wanting to take out the mark that this person had planted. However, at this moment, a strong repulsive force was emitted. The mark seemed to have a spirit, and it was preventing external forces from entering. A cold light flashed in Ning Chen's eyes. He was worried that he would hurt the little girl's life spirit, so he did not dare to do it forcefully. He circulated his phoenix essence and turned it into many restrictions, sealing the imprint. After doing all this, Ning Chen didn't stay any longer. His soul vanished and returned to his body. In the room, the phoenix shadow returned to his body. Ning Chen opened his eyes and looked at the little girl in front of him. He smiled and said, "I was thinking too much. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just a little stupid. However, I can't cure this illness." "You're the stupid one." Zhao Liusu did not suspect anything. She wrinkled her nose and said unhappily, "All right, go back and rest. Don't tell anyone about what happened tonight, including your mother." Ning Chen raised his hand and rubbed the little girl's hair as he softly reminded her. "Okay, I'll remember. I'm leaving now. I'll come and play with you tomorrow." Zhao Liusu nodded and smiled at him. Then, she turned and walked out of the room. After the little girl left, Ning Chen sat back down at the table. He silently picked up the teacup. Just as he was about to drink it, there was a bang and it shattered. The tea and blood mixed together and dripped down through the gaps between his fingers. His trembling hand showed that its owner was unable to suppress his anger. He did not recognize that mark, but he had been possessed by the Disaster King before. No one was more familiar with that feeling than him. The mark in Lu Su's life spirit had its own consciousness. Although it had not awakened yet, it was only a matter of time. From the looks of it, Lu Su's existence was just a tool prepared for this mark to possess her. Lu Su's mother did not seem to know about this. What about her father? the Zhao clan's clan leader, and the people of the Zenith Pavilion. What role did they play in this? The ugliness of the human heart was truly disgusting. How is it? Do you understand the disappointment of the Nether King when he descended to the mortal world? The greed of the human heart is the ugliest thing in this world. Only destruction can save them. An illusory gray figure appeared beside Ningchen. It had black eyes, black hair, and a face that was exactly the same. Its identity was clear. The demonic body, that had corroded a part of its soul, had its own consciousness. Although its power had been temporarily sealed, it had not disappeared. At this moment, it sensed the anger in Ningchen's heart and came out. What do you want to say? Ningchen glanced at the demonic body that had appeared. Let me out, and I'll help you kill them all. This way, you can also get what you want, said the demonic body calmly. Do you think I'll make a deal with the devil? Asked Ningchen indifferently. You and I are one. We're bound together for good or ill. There's no such thing as a deal. As long as you can find the power above the mortal world as soon as possible. It doesn't matter if I go out or not. 10 years ago, since you were able to ruthlessly sacrifice millions of lives, why are you so indecisive today? It's different. Ningchen got up and walked to the window. He took a towel and wiped the blood off his hands. He calmly replied, killing them won't save Liusu. Moreover, I still don't know who the mastermind is. Do I have to kill them all? Those who achieve great things don't care about trifles. After fighting with Fan Lingyue so many times, you should understand the importance of this sentence better than anyone, said the demonic body coldly. I don't reject using force to solve problems, but I also don't want to kill people needlessly. I've never doubted Fan Lingyue's ideals, but even now, I can't agree with her methods. Although I don't know how to achieve the goal of world peace, I'm very sure that 100 generations of prosperity is not achieved through coercion. The human heart is the same. I can't kill everyone, and I don't have the right to do so, said Ningchen firmly. Your naivety will make you pay an unbearable price in the end. I look forward to the day when you take the initiative to let me out. After saying that, the demonic body gradually dissipated and merged back into Ningchen's body. In front of the window, Ningchen looked at the starry sky in the distance. A trace of longing flashed through his eyes. The homeland of West Buddha, the Forbidden Land. On the mountain peak that reached into the 9 heavens, ancient temples were located. It was a holy land for Buddhist cultivation. At this moment, a woman in a green dress walked up the mountain step by step. West Jade Mountain was full of spring. The 4 seasons were not affected by the heavens. There were no abnormalities in the first half of the journey. However, when she reached a height of 10,000 feet, the woman's feet suddenly sank and her figure staggered. An indescribable pressure pressed down from the mountain peak. It was heavy and condensed, making it difficult for her to take half a step forward. The woman endured the pain on her body and refused to retreat. She continued to walk up the mountain step by step. At the same time, 2 female cultivators dressed in Buddhist robes appeared on the mountain peak. They looked at the woman who was struggling to walk down the mountain and remained silent. The woman walked for 6 hours in just a short 100 feet. The bright moon hung high in the sky, illuminating the mountain path, but not the road ahead. A day passed and the woman walked another 100 feet. The pressure from the mountain became more and more terrifying. The sweat that flowed out wet her clothes again and again. Every step she took, she had to stop for a long time. Not bad, said one of the female cultivators. It's a pity that her foundation is a little weak. Otherwise, we would have another junior sister. The other female cultivator looked at the woman at the foot of the mountain and shook her head regretfully. According to the rules of West Jade Mountain, only those who could climb up the mountain with their own strength were qualified to become a disciple. There were no shortcuts other than that. They admired this determined woman, but first she had to climb up the mountain. For nearly 100 years, no one had been able to climb up the mountain. It was cruel, but it was also true. Another day passed, yet the woman still only walked 300 m. Her black hair hung down casually, her exhausted face was completely pale, and her sweat had dried up long ago. Her skin was cracked, and traces of blood faintly seeped out, causing her to be extremely miserable. She's reached her limit. One of the female cultivators sighed and said regretfully. The other person was silent. She looked down the mountain without moving, as if she was waiting for a miracle to happen. On the third day, the woman walked another 100 feet. Her figure staggered as if she would fall down at any time. On the fourth day, on the fifth day, on the sixth day, the two people on the mountain were silent. Looking at the figure at the foot of the mountain getting closer and closer, there was a trace of expectation in their hearts. 100 feet, 100 feet. She didn't know how many days she had walked. Even she couldn't remember it clearly. However, she persisted and walked. Her mind was already blank. She just kept walking without changing. Chingy, how long did you walk on this path back then? One of the female cultivators sighed and looked at the woman in blue beside her. 12 hours. The woman in blue said. How did it feel? The female cultivator asked again. It was worse than death. The woman in blue said honestly. I walked for 2 days. Third senior sister was the fastest. She came up in 4 hours. The female cultivator was silent for a moment before saying. Third senior sister was publicly recognized as the most talented person on the mountain. When she came up the mountain, she also broke the record of being the fastest. She came up in less than 4 hours. However, third senior sister was not the most powerful person on the mountain, because she could not bear hardships. This path had been cultivated by the successive lords of the West Jade Mountain, one sword at a time. Therefore, it was the most difficult path to walk in the world. It's been 6 days. The woman in blue murmured softly. She still hadn't come up after 6 days. This meant that her talent wasn't surprising. She might be good in the mortal world, but there were too many geniuses on the mountain. However, what she cared about was that this woman didn't give up after walking for 6 days. Her willpower was really shocking. On the 7th day, on the 8th day, on the 9th day, on the 10th day, after 10 days and nights, the woman finally reached the mountain. At this moment, in front of the two female cultivators, the void rolled. A figure with a terrifying aura that even made the world tremble walked out. Looking at the woman in front of him, he said calmly, You name. Qing Ning. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.